rewind.
Unbelievable!
Great playing. We're going. I like the aggression. We probably dropped a great car.
You can go tell all those guys up there they can suck in.
What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing?
You gotta be kidding me!
Half the pack is flying apart!
They're so nice to
See at the line.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well!
Jump. Coming to line.
Here low, come back on him.
That one's incredible. Dude, nobody better. Nobody. Hell yeah, guys.
Wasn't late that time. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Welcome to NWP, and thank you already for the super chats. We will read those at the super chat stage break. I appreciate the kindness and support. We all do. But guys, I don't think we can dilly-dally on this one. Daytona 500 just happened. Major penalties, possible return of an OEM, maybe even some rumors of another OEM on top of that. You have all of the other races to talk about. Cletus McFarland is taking over the NASCAR world after one ARCA race. Let's get into it. Daytona 500 time. All right. God, where do we start? That's the other part. The Daytona 500 had so many different things to talk about when it comes to whether it be the package, whether it be the racing itself, whether it be the delays, the wrecking.
Lots of wrecking.
Yeah, there's a reason that the title of this show tonight is The Great American Wreck.
Ryan Preece hates Daytona's backstretch.
Well, I mean, I guess, but it gives him great astronaut training because it launches him up every time.
Maybe they should pave the air next time to keep his car on the ground.
Man, just, you know what? We've been hearing him beg for that domed racetrack. We might as well get there. But, let's start on the positive front here, because I was surprised that I leaned more on the positive side of the NASCAR fan base this week. So let's start with the positive side. William Byron wins his second straight Daytona 500. For everybody saying that the elite drivers of the sport, that the guys that are the big names right now aren't winning, 2 in a row for Big Bill Byron. I can't say that. Danny, what do you think about this time? Unfortunately, I guess for Bowman's sake, not having to beat your boy to the line, having to beat the 45 instead. What do you think about Big Bill Byron's second straight Daytona 500 win?
Well, definitely no controversy about it this time. Last year he won. It was controversy of, the caution come out, and who was at the line? Who was there when it come out? And then this year, wreck happens, and they've learned from Duel 2, don't throw the caution, which Eric Jones got to be punching the air right now at this point. So that's another discussion.
Wouldn't Priest be punching the air?
Do what?
Wouldn't Priest be punching the air?
They're both punching the air together in different ways. Okay, so anyways, Eric Jones got to not be happy about that. But I will say I applaud this move. I think that the wreck didn't impact the win. Also, I mean, Reddick never had enough people around to make anything happen off that. So really, Byron was just gonna, just keep his foot on the gas and he'll win it. So if it was Talladega, maybe he could have tried something, but that is what it is. But I don't know. There's nothing to debate this time with it. So there's that. And hey, the car looks a lot better. Noah Sweet did a heck of a job of the car this year. It looks amazing. Rather than that weird plain white car from last year with just a few red flames on it. This car actually has character this year, and it's going to look great there in Daytona, USA, in the museum whenever people go check it out now.
Yeah, I completely endorse what you just said about the paint scheme. Looked super cool, super sharp. And I'm with you. There was no controversy around Byron winning. Obviously, he was out front when they all wrecked, and he held the lead all the way to the line despite the caution not being thrown. William Byron now has 4 super speedway wins in the next gen car. The next most anyone has is 2. Now, there's some asterisks there. I mean, he was 7th place when everybody in front of him wrecked here, and I think one of his Atlanta wins was rain shortened. So, I'm not going to sit here and say he's dominated these races. In fact, that's kind of been the story with Byron, is he's winning these super speedway races. Chevy is winning a lot of these super speedway races, but it's Ford who's dominating. It's Austin Cindric leading the most laps once again. It's Joey Logano dominating the early stages, but mechanical issues sending him to the back and then tangling with Ricky Stenhouse. Like, once again, it's William Byron being in the right place, right time. I know there's been a lot of talk this week about luck versus skill. It's undeniable that there is a greater element of luck at super speedways. And I would say there's been an even greater luck element in recent years at super speedways, but it's not all luck. Even I, who admittedly said did not really love the way this race played out, am not a fan of how Daytona 500s have devolved in recent years. Even I can admit it's not 100% luck that gets William Byron to victory lane back-to-back years. Right place, right time, sure, but he did run a good race up to that point. You have to still be in the mix to have a shot at it. And like you said, Danny, there's no controversy around the winner itself. Clearly, based on what happened on the last lap, William Byron this year, the obvious winner. Congratulations to him. That's cool.
I'll say with the Byron front, I think one thing I think about the Daytona 500 compared to a lot of stuff in NASCAR, and I've seen a lot of people have had this debate and talk about it, and we'll probably kind of get into it as well, on top of talking about the cars and the package and the racing and all of that. But a lot of people are saying, like, is the Daytona 500 not as prestigious anymore? Is there, X, Y, and Z that's weighing it down and things like that? But I would argue at this point still, depending on which way you look at it, I still think the Daytona 500 holds a lot of weight. And because of that, I think that William Byron winning 2 in a row and being in pretty elite category doing it, regardless of how he did it, this is huge for his career. Now, on the somebody needs to change a muffler out there. Sounds like a plane taking off.
We didn't hear it.
I'm glad. It sounded like the biggest car wet fart ever. There it goes again. But as for
They're doing laps in the roundabout out there.
they've been since there's ice and stuff, they've been having trucks go through and almost do little slides and stuff. It's really annoying, but interesting at the same time. Anyway, I'm off topic. When it comes to the luck side of things, I get people being upset with it, especially drivers. But and maybe this is unpopular, maybe it is popular depending on how we look at the poll tonight. Honestly, I really didn't think this race was as bad as a lot of people are saying. I think it was everything surrounding it per se. I honestly, I don't think it's maybe better than the 23 summer Daytona race, but I think it's the best Daytona 500 they've had since this car. Now, I don't think that it means the car has no changes that need to be done. But people are like, it was only gridlock the whole time. Well, no, there were drivers who were able to make their way up through the pack. Ricky Stenhouse, Corey LaJoie, Joey Logano had the best car out there, and it was pretty clear at different points. It was harder than it would have been under other circumstances and packages, and for that reason, I do think there still needs to be a lot of work. I don't like the fuel saving as much, just because if I wanted to go and watch a bunch of cars be relatively slow, I'd go and watch the interstate, because there'd be at least more, there'd be more entertainment there watching somebody try and merge up into a lane or something. I did not like that. And it was, I think it was pretty evident when the phantom debris cautions reared their heads again, that NASCAR was pretty sick of it too. And they're like, fuel window. Oh no, a lap later, there's debris. And I will say, from a few people I know that were there, at least one of those cautions, there was debris, and Fox didn't show it.
I think the first one there might have been, because I want to say Zane Smith pulled off track at the same time as that caution. The second one with 40 to go, that one was sus.
Yeah,
very sus.
That one, I was like, yep, that is an entertainment caution if I've ever seen it. That is, their stage 3 caution. But I think the big problem at this point, and I think it all revolves around this, every conversation does when it comes to this, is drivers need to have versatility in these races. If you look back at the 2 packages that people love the most from Daytona and Talladega in the past, it is that Gen 4 package that was from about Talladega 2000 until the COT came around, and then the 2019 to 2021 Gen 6 package. And in each of those, there were wrecks, there were crapshoots at times, but the best drivers out there usually did compete for and win those races. Look how much Denny Hamlin won in the Gen 6, and they were able to make moves. People have been showing the Gen 4 ones with Junior versus Stewart in 04, Harvick coming up against Martin through the pack. The one I look at is the 2020 Daytona 500. Denny Hamlin's passing the last lap, and he still was able to mount a charge at the end of that race and pounce on the mistakes of the Ryans. So I think that's kind of like the denominator we're all looking for. Everyone has different things that they're kind of upset with. That I think is what everybody wants in some way or another.
I think the bigger problem for me wasn't the racing itself. Well, let me put it this way. I think the problem for me was the final 15 laps. And I think that's where most people have the issue. Because I agree with you, Jared. I've seen comments from people saying, oh, it was 80% fuel mileage. That's just objectively wrong. Almost all of stage one, they were going for it because after the rain, it was a 40-lap window. They were racing hard in stage one. Stage two, yes, the first half of it, they were fuel saving. The final 30 or so laps, they were going hard. Realistically, it was maybe 70 laps of straight up fuel mileage racing out of 200. Do we remember when they used to go train for 120 laps at Daytona? Like I'd take 60 to 70 laps of fuel saving over the train that we used to see for years. So people who say this was all fuel mileage are just wrong, or they didn't watch the race. But the problem was the final 15 laps. And the reason it was a problem is because all race long, we had storylines developing. Team Penske was on top, clearly. Austin Cindric controlling the race. Before that, it was Joey Logano. We were watching Logano try to work his way back forward. And then on the final lap, you had Denny Hamlin make the move, a great move, it seemed, to get even with Cindric. And with his teammate Briscoe behind him, he had the push to clear Cindric. It was a genius move by someone we all agree is probably the highest IQ super speedway racer in the field. But that all went for nothing because a borderline rookie who hadn't sniffed the lead all day merged down the track like he wasn't three wide top and caused a giant pileup. I think that's the frustration people have with Daytona nowadays, is because you can spend 3 hours building these storylines, building these narratives, and one bad move from an inexperienced driver on the final lap throws all of that out the window. And it doesn't happen, every 4 or 5 races. It happens almost every single Daytona 500 now. The last 6 Daytona 500s have finished with a last lap crash at the front of the field. 2022, granted, it happened like at the line, didn't really impact the finishing results, but still 5 of the last 6 Daytona 500s, let's say, have been impacted by the leaders crashing on the final lap. If you're going to watch a 3-hour race, Speed Week, we talk about this thing for 5 days, carefully crafting these cars, keeping them clean, getting them ready, only to wad it up in the final half a lap and see the entire complexion of the race change in the blink of an eye. I think that's the problem, is it just feels cheap. The finishing results don't feel earned because we didn't spend 3 hours talking about William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and Jimmy Johnson, but they finished 1, 2, 3 because somebody else flipped up. That's the problem I think people have with current super speedway racing. It's just too easy for a bump draft to go wrong. It's too easy for them all to crash in the closing laps and just throw the rest of the race out the window.
Really, we'll talk about the other series coming up, but really every single one of the races this weekend was like that. ARCA was what it is. ARCA's ARCA.
Yeah.
ARCA actually had a clean finish, and then someone got just dumped Ilio on the cool down lap. But then the other series, it's funny you mentioned Denny Hamlin. I was feeling so much like I think Denny Hamlin's going to win this Daytona 500 again. I'm going to get my NWP pick right. Let's go.
Yep.
When I saw Bowman got shuffled out, he went up high trying to make a move. No one went with him. He went out. So I was like, okay, go Hamlin. I want my NWP pick to win. And I watched Hamlin. I watched Zilich. I watched Ben Rhodes all get dumped, contending for the win in the final laps. All the exact same way this weekend for my picks.
I mean, if you think about it, under racing conditions, not under the cool down lap, because then that takes it out of it. If you think about it, ARCA had the cleanest finish this weekend. For the dirtiest race, they had the cleanest finish. Now, granted, it's because they ARCA braked like a good 75% of the field out.
Yeah, most of the field's gone at that point. They couldn't survive the dente they were riding on this weekend.
Yeah. And they still wrecked after the checkered.
Was it Matt Weaver that said, like, I don't know what the dente is, but I won off the ride?
He did say that. We've only had one NASCAR weekend. I'm already tired of the Ride a Dente commercial. They played it so much this weekend.
Oh, man.
12 more weeks, man. 12 more weeks. Well, no, because they have the off week too with Easter. 13 more weeks, man. So
thank you for supporting NASCAR No Chili's. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Even though the winner of the Chili's race admitted that he went to Waffle House afterwards.
Well, I think Matt Weaver gave him a chance to redeem himself. He said he was gonna go to to like Chili's first and then go to Waffle House.
I don't think he went to Chili's.
he probably,
And-
he
and-
probably didn't.
Let's be honest. Are you really like? Can you call yourself an American if you're not going to the awful waffle? Like,
I
don't
mean,
know.
I get the Waffle House appeal. I just thought it was funny in a sport driven by corporate sponsorship. The blatant disregard for the title sponsor was amusing, frankly.
So kind of getting back to talking though
Yeah.
about the clean finishes. Steven Stumpf put this out about a day or two ago. I think it's yesterday. And it was 2005 through 2025. And he said, if we define a clean Daytona 500 finish as finishing on lap 200, finishing under green, and not having a last lap crash, there have been 3 clean finishes in the last 21 seasons, 2008, 16, and 17. Now I would say take out the favoritism for the most popular driver here, because no matter what race it is, if Dale Jr. wins, if Jeff Gordon wins, drivers in that caliber, like if Kyle Larson won or Chase Elliott, like fans are generally going to love it. And I don't blame them. I love 2014 Daytona 500, even if I can say watching back on it, it wasn't as good as I remember it being. So kind of looking back at those races, like which ones, for good reasons, looking at 2020 on the exclusion on this one, like which ones really are the ones we look back on as like the big moments, the big finishes, the grand ones that are going to be put in our commercials. I'd argue the Kurt Busch one in 2017, even though it was kind of a fuel mileage race at the end. 2016 for sure with the side-by-side finish. I guess 2012 for the circumstances of it all and like on back. But I would say like since the Gen 6 came in, there really haven't been that many major moments. And I think that's what like fans aren't vocalizing, but they're definitely like, I think that's what they're going towards on this. Cause I mean, it's insane looking at this chart. And since 2020, overtime finishes, 4 of 6, green flag finishes, 2 of 6. Of course, all 6 had a last lap wreck. Like, I don't blame fans for being, put it in a YouTuber term, burned out on it. Like, I don't blame them at all at this point.
Yeah. No, I agree for everything you said. And the tough thing about talking about Daytona is what do you do to change it? Like with short tracks, we talk about the tires, we talk about, shifting. There are things that, while maybe difficult, we can obviously change that would obviously make the racing closer to what we want. But at Daytona, they say, okay, take drag out of the car. If you do that, you probably got to lower the horsepower. How is that going to affect things? Like I don't think there's an obvious fix. There's things we can try, expensive things probably that can be tried, but there's no obvious, if we do this, this will get better that I see. But again, I obviously don't drive these cars. So that's the tough thing. I'm with you. I think fans are just kind of the Daytona 500 it plays with your emotions and it does that every year. And I think fans after a while are just getting tired of getting played with. That's kind of how it feels. And yeah, I think we let it go more so on like, spring Talladega or, the summer Daytona race, because those aren't the Daytona 500. Those are just, it's another race. Okay, if we have a random winner or some fluky stuff happen, it is what it is. We'll go get them next week. That's, Darlington is next week, whatever. But because this is the Daytona 500 and we hype it up all off season, I think that's where the burnout really sets in, is it just hasn't, the biggest race hasn't given us a feel good send off finish in a while, frankly. And that's where it gets frustrating, I think, for a lot of people.
And I thought it was a halfway decent race.
I did too. I thought it was a good race until the final 15 laps.
and like that buildup from the last restart until like 45 to go or so, or 15 to go or so, I should say, before all the crashes. Like I genuinely really loved that buildup. Like it felt like we were building up. There were guys coming up through the pack. There were guys that were working together. The lines were starting to form, and you could see some of the better guys. Like, and again, it was like the murderer's row up there of LaJoy, Stenhouse, and Logano. But it's like until that moment, and we'll get to that in a sec here. Like before that moment, like I felt like, oh my God, like we might build up and actually have like one of those really good kind of special Daytona finishes. And then of course all hell broke loose. Now I think there's a few things to talk about here. It's 2 big problems I think people have that they are in the control that NASCAR can fix up. And it's the racing itself for the majority of it, and it's the fuel saving. Like those are the two things NASCAR can address. The wrecking and bad blocks, that's up to the drivers. Like, and I think Denny Hamlin hit the nail on the head with that. I want to put something out for the fuel saving part. And I think I might have said it last week, but I'll say it again because I think it works. Is maybe you just make them have a smaller fuel cell. You know, instead of them being able to go 40 to 45 laps, they're going 28 to 30 laps. NASCAR did that back in, I believe, 2006 and 7 to break up the pack. They didn't like how big the pack was and the wrecks being caused from that. Drivers voiced how much they didn't like that. And to a degree, it did that. Now, at the time, those cars were able to come back together. But do you really want to save fuel a bunch and fall way off the pack if you're in like a second pack and you can't make your way back up to them by the end of the stage and kind of get gridlocked? Or are you going to keep going full speed? And especially if it cuts the stage in half, what's the point of saving gas at that point? Like you might do it a little bit, but you're not going to do it the entire 30 lap run before, especially in 60 lap stages or 65. Like that's an idea I have. The aero side, the drivers have been vocal about that so far, and so the fans have. But it could be a good option. It could work, and it might not affect the racing too much.
Yeah, I don't know how easy that is to adjust on the next gen car in particular, but yeah, that could be a big thing for sure, is trying to reduce the amount of fuel saving that happens in the stages, whether that's through stage lengths, which may be more difficult, or like you said, somehow limiting the size of the fuel cell. Something they could absolutely play with, but I just don't know how exact that science is. And I even, in the past, when they've done this fuel saving, I've said that I don't even mind it because it's one of the few things that super speedways drivers can control. Like, yeah, okay, if I have to watch 30 laps of fuel saving for 30 laps of go hard action, I don't know. I'm okay with that trade-off because, again, I remember what it used to be. It used to be 60, 70, 80 lap green flag runs of single file, and that was brutal. You go take a bathroom break, go have lunch in the other room, like just ignore the TV for an hour and a half. I don't feel like I can do that anymore because at least when they're saving fuel, I like to watch, okay, who's fifth in line? Who's saving those? Before that caution with 40 lap to go, the suspicious debris caution, I think I even tweeted at some point that like, hey, you know, Logano, I think it was like, maybe it wasn't Logano, maybe it was Blaney and Cindric. I was like, the Penske guys are like insisting on leading this line. You know, if they have to take more fuel, they're going to be, you know, 20th in the final run like that. That's going to be really interesting to see if they can come from 20th to first, because the rate they're going, they're not saving much fuel. And like that could have been a storyline that obviously the caution took away. But that's what I'm saying is like, I don't even hate, maybe I'm in the minority here. I don't even hate the fuel mileage racing because at least it's something they can control.
The Penske side of it, though, it's like I think they were the few guys that could actually control where they could go in the pack, though. They were
that too.
They were the strongest cars.
Yeah, and which is why they just if they finished 1, 2, 3, they would have earned it.
Well, I think like where I'm kind of thinking of it is like that's what I think what fans would want. And I think that's what drivers would want. And if they're the only ones that are able to do that, like yeah, it's cool seeing them come up through the pack and make their way back up in a comeback. But like I think if you can put that kind of control into the hands of like most of the good handling cars in the pack, and a lot of them, I think that'd be better. It's stuff. The cars are so close now, is that there's not much room either way, unless you're somebody like a Joey Logano or a Denny Hamlin, who are some of the best plate guys ever. I'm still going to call plate if I every now and then.
Super speedway is too many syllables to always have to say completely.
Well, and it messes with the mic. Super speedway races.
Super spaghetti racing. Yep.
Yes.
Spaghettios.
You know, I feel like we kind of talked a lot about this, and I think we can talk about point by point issues now. So I kind of want to race to you guys, and I want Danny, you to lead us off on this. The big wreck to kick it off was the one that started with Joey Logano and Ricky Stenhouse. And I'm going to put a poll up in the chat for this one, but who do you kind of put the blame more on, or like, is there an innocent party of those two? Like if you had to give a percentage or a pie chart, whatever it had to be, like where do you kind of lie on that one?
I kind of had a little equal blame for both Logano and Stenhouse. They both pushed each other a little too much. They beat me. I was actually about to tweet, I don't trust a lane being led by Corey LaJoie, Ricky Stenhouse, and Joey Logano, and then the wreck happened. So then I tweeted out instead, Joey Logano, Ricky Stenhouse, and Corey LaJoy leading a lane, you know something's going to happen with that. I mean, I don't think anyone trusted those three guys leading that late in the race that we weren't going to see something happen. Maybe we hoped we'd get a little bit further than 15 to go, but I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Ricky, but they're both pretty well to blame.
I'd probably go, yeah, that's where I go. I go probably 60-40 Stenhouse, because ultimately he threw the over aggressive first block that, was lucky he didn't get turned from that one. But after he threw that block, Logano, I feel, was just angry and was trying to push the issue. And I think Joey, there was going to be a light stack up potentially, but Logano, I think, had room to kind of let Stenhouse in, let him catch it, rebuild momentum. Instead, he tried to force it 4 wide, and it's like, whoa, Joey, whoa, hold on. And then, Stenhouse still wasn't really picking the lane. So that's why I'd go 60% or so Stenhouse, but Joey, not blameless. I mean, these are two extremely talented super speedway racers. They've won a lot of races at these types of tracks, but they're also very aggressive, and that bit him in this case. It was fire meeting fire at the end of this one.
I just hate that Kyle Busch was probably the worst innocent bystander and all that. I mean, Kyle was looking like he was going to be right where he needed to be once again and, have a chance, and then just, no place for him to go there.
Before I kind of give my percentages of blame here, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, and maybe I'll make a prediction at some point, but I feel like this was, depending on where he goes next, I feel like this was Kyle Busch's last really great chance. Unless the RCR cars, I think in Cup are probably the consistently fastest ones when you look at them beside the Penske cars and the Fords. And I really don't know what team would have an opening that Kyle Busch would have a better car than the 8 car at super speedways. And I don't like saying that. Like with Brad Keselowski, he's going to be in an RFK Ford, he will be up towards the front competing. It's just those cars are good enough. He's good enough. With Kyle Busch, I don't know. I mean, it could be such a crapshoot. There could be a good big wreck and he's 12th and he wins the race. But I'll kind of reel it back to the Stenhouse Logano thing. I'm actually kind of putting 80% on Ricky here. And the 20% on Logano is simply it was off his bumper. For the Stenhouse part, I think it's twofold on this. The first one is the block. It wasn't a smart block. Joey was there. He was lucky he didn't get his ass turned that first block. The problem for me is Ricky didn't commit. I think AJT in the chat had said the same thing. Stenhouse, if you watch the replay, he's swerving. I mean, he is.
Yeah, he didn't pick a lane. He was floating.
And I think on the Logano side, I can at least argue, he was saying, I was rolling out of it. It's no, they showed the replay, buddy. You weren't. You don't have to just lie about it. We're all going to see it. But on the Logano side, if he does get out of it a ton, the way that they're all racing up there, he's going to get his ass run over. And then it's probably going to cause the same thing, except a row back. So I don't really put as much on Logano. I know a lot of people in the chat, that's not a popular opinion to have, but I think that was for the most part on Ricky Stenhouse.
I think the chat mostly agrees with you looking at the poll. I mean, the majority of the chat is saying both are to blame, which we're all kind of saying is correct. But then between Ricky and Logano, more are saying Ricky.
Yeah.
So I think the chat overall kind of agrees. In the 60, it's probably 60 to 80% on Ricky is what I think the chat is agreeing.
We have stood on the right side of history here, boys.
Grover Cleveland as our witness in the chat and everything.
I saw him. Hello, President Cleveland.
And then okay, so there's that one, and then there's the crash at the end. And I kind of want to raise this question to you guys: should NASCAR have let it stay green?
No, they should not have. And I'm not saying that because I hate green flag finishes or I think it's wrong to race back to line. I'm saying because of past precedent, they never let them race back to the green under that kind of stuff. They haven't done that in years. So for them to randomly allow them to race nearly half a lap, probably close to a mile back to the start finish line was wild to me. And all I ask for is consistency. If you're going to quick trigger at the end of the 2023 500, quick trigger at the end of the 2024 500, quick trigger at the end of the dual race the other night, I expect at least a medium trigger at the end of this year's
I
Daytona
know.
500. Where was the consistency? Like I'm glad it didn't impact the winner. Ultimately, Byron led the whole way, but it impacted the rest of the top 10. And now I don't know next race what the right thing is to call is. I don't know what they're going to do.
I know. We might see at Atlanta the same Riley Herb save where he goes down and saves it, and then they throw the caution.
And that was a hell of a save.
Yeah, that was a good save. And not throwing it for Herbst was the right call. That was the right call because and we've seen them in the past. One person spins out of line. They often hold the whistle.
I say this was the right call, but I think that's what it should have been a lot of other times too. This, I think that was how it should be. If how it should have been handled a lot of other times. But it, like Eric was saying, it makes no sense. Why did you not do that at the dual race? I mean, they were literally going to the line. I don't get that.
Yeah. Like there's some that are cut and dry. Like the dual race, they should have kept it green. Like it was not going to make a difference. They were going to wreck closer to the trucks anyway, so you might as well have just left it green and then ended it there. The Xfinity race was a crash at the line right after the white. You have to throw the caution for that. Like those are the cut and dry ones. Like I saw people after the Xfinity race complaining, and I'm like, that's just plain dumb. But on this one, I do kind of agree with Danny in the sense that like it probably, especially if it's like on the half of the track towards the finish line, if it's not someone blowing up in a ball of flames like in 2021, I would like them to stay green. Unfortunately, though, they are completely inconsistent. I have not listened to the Hauler Talk podcast, but I would assume they gave some kind of reasoning for that.
I can summarize it if you want, because it was
go for it.
It made sense, but he also just stated one or two things that are just objectively false. So it was Juzon Hamilton, who's been the sort of the David Hoots for the last few years now. He is the race director for the Cup Series. And he explained that the reason they let it go, first off, he actually said, we messed up in the dual race. We should have let that one go the extra couple seconds, let him finish. He admitted that. But then he said for the Cup, for the 500, he said they let it go because it was just after a restart, so the field was all bunched up. He said there weren't any stragglers way back in the back, which is false. There were several cars, including Riley Herbst, who were way behind the pack coming in a lot later, so he was wrong about that. But okay, field is mostly condensed, so by the time the wreck's happening, his idea was most people are already through it, so let's try to let him race back to the line because we don't want to get in the way of the call. He also said that because they were past turn 2, that's where there's an opening for safety vehicles. He said they actually were sending safety trucks onto the track before the caution was out, which to me was like, oh, okay, good. I'm glad that's a fast response. But then I'm like, wait, you're sending pedestrians in a safety vehicle out to a hot green flag track? I get that there's probably no stragglers back there at that point coming through at full speed, but like the track is green and you got a guy in a pickup truck out there. Like, I don't know if I like that admission either, frankly. So his explanation made sense. I still think they made the wrong call. I still think it was not the right decision. But if now going forward, we want to decide that, hey, if they wreck in turns 3 and 4, we're going to let them race back to the line. If you're willing to take that safety risk, okay, just be consistent. We can have the safety conversation, but as far as the consistency conversation, they've lost that.
Yeah, I feel like this was a call made, and they can say otherwise on it. I don't expect them ever to admit this. I believe this is a call made because of the reaction that was made on social media. This is a social media reaction. And
they realized they created a meme with Eric Jones by making that mistake.
Yeah. And there you go. I mean, we got memes.
Perfect.
But I'll kind of bring to that too is, Denny Hamlin, there was stuff I disagreed with Denny Hamlin on. Like, I think he like the fact of the racing itself, he was saying is like damaging the sport. Like, I don't really think it's that terrible. I've seen this, like super speedway racing goes through cycles. And I'll repeatedly say this, it goes through cycles of good and bad. And it takes about a decade in any generation of car to get it to where it's at, whether it's Gen 4, whether it be, Gen 6. COT was pretty good in the pack for the tandems, and then nature got interrupted instead of taking its course from there. But when it comes to what he said though about, he's talked about legitimacy, and I can tell he's a slap shoes fan because he kept talking about the dam of legitimacy over and over again. And
He's
he
probably watched that
brings
video more times than he wants to.
Oh, yeah, he's probably studied that thing. He
Took
done
notes.
add bullet points added to all of his points. But I think my point of it too is if you're governing based on the Twitter reaction, like that is a huge blow to it. I don't care what
Yeah.
you say, like that's what it looks like right now. And I mean, all three of us kind of agreed, like, yeah, the reaction is probably why. So if you're governing differently and the rules are willy-nilly depending on what time, and I don't think it's because a Hendrick car is out front, so I want to shut that down. Like,
Yeah,
no,
no, it's
if
not that.
if anything, they throw a caution if a Hendrick car's out front based on like a lot of the tinfoil hat crowd, which I've been a part of before, but I don't think that was at all any of this. If they're changing it for that, if you're having the biggest race be decided because of the Twitter reaction on Thursday before it, like that's a huge problem too. And
Yeah, they just need to
it
have a
seems like
stronger backbone. They need to be more
yeah,
sure of themselves and just make the consistent call. Instead, it just feels like they're constantly trying to gauge the temperature of the room. And I just think if you keep doing that, you're going to keep making different inconsistent calls, and nobody's going to be happy. Like just you have a rule, do it the same way every time, and people will get over it.
Strangely enough, I don't know if it's just me. I kind of feel better about NASCAR reacting to online reactions as opposed to just going off of the more or less rigged fan council perspective of things.
I mean, that is a good point. It's obvious that
yeah.
NASCAR listens to at least social media
I,
fans. People say they don't. They obviously do, even if they don't always agree with your take. Like,
the problem with that though is that social media is so willy-nilly. It's
oh
whichever way
yeah,
the wind blows. I mean, you will get
100%.
like if it was different drivers out there, people are going to be saying different things about it and stuff like that. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm like, this is where NASCAR is missing, a Jim Hunter, a Mike Helton, a John Darby, like old heads that like you might not like what they say, but damn it, you're going to listen to what I say because in their
Mhm.
words, this sport has gone along without you, and it will go on a long time without you after. And
Mhm.
it was a my way or the highway where it's like, I get it's nice in different aspects to have like the collaboration and kumbaya and all that stuff. Like, but nobody's ever going to be happy with it. So somebody has to put their foot down. And now we're on like the total other end of it where like they weren't throwing the caution and we were upset. And then now they were throwing it too much and we were upset. And now we're all the way back on the other side of that pendulum. And when you're governing by a pendulum of opinion, it's just like at some point, as much as it'll piss us off, they probably just need to take a hard line stand one way or another, and we'll
Yep.
just judge it like we're doing right now.
That's all I'm asking for. If they want to decide going forward, hey, if they reckon turn 4 or on the front stretch, we're going to leave it green. I'm cool with that. Unless a guy's airborne, I'm cool with that. Just officiate it the same way every time. If they want to say nope, we're going to quick trigger for safety reasons, I'm fine with that too. Just be consistent. That's all we ask.
You know what would have been a very controversial thing had Reddick been actually close to somehow making a pass on Byron after they got through, and then they just throw a caution right when he's about to get there.
That would have been
Oh,
that would
boy.
have been like worse even than when they like waited until Kligerman got to the line to throw the caution at the Roval last year. Like just teased him just like that. 3 feet before the line.
Well, you kind of talked about if a car was going airborne. I think we talked about it a little bit before, but the Priest flip again. This man, a lot of people were calling him like different, drivers' names from the past. I think it's Elliott Sadler. I mean, he's just like this era's Elliott Sadler. The way
Yeah.
he finds ways to get in hard wrecks or giant ass flips, and it's
Or he's the modern Ryan Newman,
yeah.
Ryan Newman, Ryan Priest. Hello.
Yeah. I saw there was a dude on Reddit who said, I'm sorry to either Ryan Priest or Ryan Blaney. Every race I've been to has seen a Ryan flip, and it was like Ryan Newman twice and like Ryan Blaney or something like that, or Ryan Priest a few times or something. But I think kind of go into this, and I know that a lot of people have strong opinions on this too. The flipping, it just keeps going. We're in year 4 and we're still having cars flip. And the thing that was different to me about this one is you could tell based on the way that the air was hitting at both sides, like that car wanted to go back down on the ground. Like it did. And then the arrow just kind of caught it at a certain point, whether it was like in the wheel well or that flat bottom. We've, talked about all of that. And then I think he had a harder tumble this time than he actually did in the one in 23.
He pulled a lot of G's in 23, But as far as the impact, it was definitely probably a little bit worse going into the wall like that this year.
And like landing harder as well. We've heard drivers, complain about
Because
that. That's a
in
rattling feeling.
and 23, it was just such a fast acceleration of the actual barrel rolls, of the G's he was pulling. That's what messed up his eyes the way it did. This was truly like he felt the impact that time.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. And yeah, and as far
He
as what do
said
we do?
he said it hurt more this one than it did the last time.
Yes, and I would take his word for it. Absolutely, it's amazing that he's walked away from both of these crashes so close apart. But yeah, he said then that like we know what needs to be fixed. He didn't elaborate, but I think everyone kind of assumed he's like, oh, does he mean like the flat underwing? Does he mean like I don't know, just super speedway racing in general? We should get rid of it all. Like what? I don't know what he really means. We're not smart enough, I think, on this show to know what needs to be changed on the cars. That they might add another roof fin. They might they might do this, that, or the other. I definitely think the underbody is going to get the most scrutiny from what I've seen smarter people discuss, at least on social media. But I don't know if that's a realistic fix for this year. Because you take that off, what else changes on the car? I don't know.
It's the easiest thing to blame, just like when Brad Keselowski flipped at Atlanta Motor Speedway, a track we hadn't seen blowovers happen before. When that happened, everyone said, okay, wings got to go. We've seen enough. And now, ironically enough, Brad Keselowski's driver flips again. And we're saying, okay, do we need to ditch the flat car? If you grab a diecast of a new car, it ain't flat just because it's a toy car. That's how it actually is now.
Yeah, because it's like look at the bottom of a 2012 one, and it's pretty much how it was there. It's
a whole lot harder for air to pass through and pick that up when it's got all those ridges in it.
Well, and I get the argument that a lot of people make of like, hey, like you can't beat physics. I'm like, yeah, but you can mitigate some of it, and you can mitigate the aerodynamic side of it a little bit. I think that this, to a degree, I think it needs to be addressed personally, just because like the amount is higher than in the years past, and we have seen big changes before, whether it be the underbody, the diffuser, whether it be more roof fins, whatever it might be. But I think it kind of this I don't know conversation. I think it goes kind of hand in hand too with the package itself. Like I was surprised that they really didn't change anything with the package this year. And I kind of think it's like at this point, like we just really need to have some sort of testing, at least for Daytona. As much as people are like, oh, it's super speedway racing, it's just entertainment racing, it's not, whatever. Super speedway racing and the short track road course racing, for the most part, have suffered the most under this car. The only difference super speedway racing has is it's our biggest races. I mean, people don't want to hear it, but Daytona 500, the 400 at the end of the summer, Talladega, especially in the spring, and now the Atlanta races, those are our biggest draws rating wise. They're put on the big Fox and NBC networks for the most part. And your biggest race, the Daytona 500, you're basically putting up to, well, like if we can get something out of it this year rather than just better racing overall, you want that better racing in your biggest race so that you can have that momentum. If there was constant problems for 5 straight years of the Indy 500, I feel like IndyCar would make a change. Like I feel like they would, because that's their biggest race and they need to do something about that. And I don't understand why NASCAR has sort of just been so ho-hum about it. Like,
yeah, I think it's because the 3-wide fuel saving looks good on TV.
It's eye candy.
And the flips, I mean, they keep walking away from him. I mean, that's probably. I'm just saying that's probably. I'm sure it's in their head. Like first and foremost, it was clear, got to fix the short tracks, and it's taken until the last 6 months. But finally, working with Goodyear, I think they have made real progress on the short tracks. Okay, good. We can almost check that box. I think now you start to look at super speedways, and I just think it might take some time. I'll bet they are considering changes, especially in the wake of the Priest flip now. But will those changes make a difference? Who knows? Yeah, I am kind of with you. I'm a little surprised they didn't make any notable changes going into this year. But again, I feel more of their focus was on short tracks at the end of last season and tires and stuff. So that eventually they'll get around to it.
Couple things and people I want to shout out really quick for good and bad reasons. First off, a lot of people in the chat have talked about it. Jimmy Johnson.
Can we get some 84s and 48s in the chat?
Yeah, definitely. Go for it. And I'm going to end that poll. I didn't realize I still had it rolling. Yeah, as we're at 7:48 watching right now. Appreciate it, everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see Jimmy up front, even if it's avoiding a wreck. Yeah, I like the big line of the night was Unk still got it.
Third place is third place. I mean, you know, it don't matter
Well,
how
and
you get there.
that the 600 coming up, that might be his last start. So it's like, enjoy it. You know, even if it's a super speedway and it's avoiding a wreck and you were 15th floor, like who cares? You know, if you're driving, like we all, I think have seen it when our drivers just, it's clear they're cooked and it sucks. And then they
Yeah.
have a good run.
What was your moment? So I know my moment when I realized Matt Kenseth was done for. When was you guys' Dale Jr. moment?
I have one in particular, and
Okay.
it's not the concussions, because I was still a little delusional even after 2016. Because
Mhm.
Junior, remember, he had that career comeback. Mine was, and it sounds crazy, but it was the duel in 2017 where there was a very easy block he could have put on Denny Hamlin, and he got schooled at Daytona. And I'm like, Dale Jr. is getting schooled at Daytona. It's the beginning of the end.
I mean, Denny Hamlin was pretty good back in
Yeah,
that
but
era too. But
Dale Jr. was arguably, I would say, him and Joey Logano were the two best head and
Sure.
shoulders above. And like Junior had made that same block the year before, and like he just looks slow in reaction. And I'm like, he's done. This is probably it's the last year of his contract. He's done.
Damn. Mine with Matt Kenseth was the Wednesday Texas race that got rained out 3 days. They finally go back green, and that was the high drag, high downforce package, and dude just lost it running mid pack like 10 laps in and wrecked. And I was like, bro, like you used to own this place. These cars are easier to drive than they've ever been, bruh. That was the moment. And granted, that was at the end of his time in the 42, so he was already near the end. It was. But that was when I finally realized, this has to be his last year. Like,
I don't think I really recall like when I realized like the end was coming, because I think 2017, like I went to the Food City 500 and was like, oh yeah, we're watching Junior, yeah. And then the next day it's like, yeah, he's retiring. It's like, oh, I don't know how many more chances I could see him now. After that, it's kind of sad. And I started thinking, I was like, no, I don't want his last win to be that rain out race at Phoenix a couple years ago. It was, but I didn't want it to be.
And remember what he said. Remember he said,
thankfully he won. He won an Xfinity race at Richmond, so that was like, okay, good. He did do that. Was that technically his only win as an owner driver with Junior Motorsports?
I'd have to think back because it's been
I
so
feel
long
like it
as
was
race,
because
but
he
it
didn't
sounds like
own the
it.
car. He won within 2010. I don't recall him winning any others during that time period.
No, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'll be completely honest. Like when I'm on the spot, it's tough. But you kind of bringing up Junior though, kind of leads me to the next one I want to shout out. Junior's team, JRM, Justin Allgaier with a 9th place finish, survived up there. Dale Jr. looked like a little kid basically every step of the way this whole weekend. It was actually really cool to see how excited he was. Like,
we're going to see them back. I don't know if they'll bring the 40 car every time, because the 40 was kind of a play on the sponsor, but we're going to see them back again.
I will say Dale Jr. and all of them, I felt were trying to hide their true angst and excitement through Wednesday. Like obviously they were smiling, shaking hands, big crowd of people, excited to be there. Let's do this, pound on the back. But when they didn't qualify on when they didn't qualify on speed, you just kind of felt like they were like, okay, shoot, like they were bothered by it, but they did not want to show everyone how bothered by that they were. They put their heads down, went to work. It was when they crossed the line in their dual race and locked in. Because even though I think Castroneves and Truex or whoever the other guy, even though some of their competitors wrecked in their dual race, JJ Yaley once again put up a fight. It was down to the wire. And so it was that moment I noticed Thursday night, the moment they crossed the line, that was when it was like the relief set in. And from that moment on, they were loving it every moment. They were just, at that point, they were playing with house money, I guess, as the saying goes.
Honestly, I think that if, I don't know if they'll do another one this year. I venture to think that after all that happened, the publicity, Chris Stapleton, all of that, like I think there's a much better chance now. Like if they're going to do it somewhere though, like I don't think it should be a super speedway. Like I think they should get a real gauge especially if they're the ones fielding it, not with a bunch of Hendrick help either.
I
I
I
want
know
to
where they're
see
gonna go.
where do you think?
I think Food City 500 is where we see them next because that's a track where Justin Allgaier won his very first Xfinity Series race at. It's a track Dale Jr. loves Bristol. It'd be a great one to get out on a short track and see what can they build for something like that.
I think that'd be an interesting one. I just don't know
I would
about
love
the
to see it.
turnaround.
I'd love to see it. I don't
But
think
to
I
be
don't
fair,
think
they probably made enough money off that entry to do it if they wanted to. Plus, they
It's
can get
just
sponsored, no problem.
I
I
don't
think it would
know.
need to be a big mark. I feel like it's them racing again this year is heavily sponsor dependent. And so that just makes me think, okay, a sponsor would want a big race like Talladega or the 600 or a big market like Texas or Las Vegas. So that's why I think like if they do it again this year, it'll be a big race. It's not going to be like a Martinsville. I mean, maybe it
But
would because it's just up the road. It's
I
easy to get to. I don't know, but I would think it'd be like a big market. Chicago. What if they show up for a street race? I don't
Well,
know.
my question too is like a lot of the big races now have more than 40 cars or up to 40 cars try and jump in,
Chicago
and
does. The others
Chi-
probably don't, but Chicago
Chicago
maybe would be tough.
does. There were a couple at the end of last year that had full fields. Like, I'm surprised even the
Talladega,
finale did.
maybe one of the
Um,
Talladegas could, but I think I don't think they'd have a tough
well,
time most places.
but my question is again, is a Hendrick that's a major helper? Are they doing it on their own? Do they want to see where they stack up if they make it or not? That's a huge investment, and he even said it's like I want to do this, but like it has to be a safe bet. Like I almost think he'd go somewhere that it's going to have only a 37 or 36 car field. He's insured he's going to be in, and go from there. And then from there, I'm assuming they'll probably have Allgaier back because they don't want to commit to a driver until
I
the
mean,
time is right.
he makes the most sense, and a lot of their sponsors now that Dale Jr. isn't getting behind the wheel in Xfinity Series that we know of. A guy like Allgaier running a Cup race might sound incentivizing for Hellmans to want to pay a little bit more money and hop on that, since they would usually pay a little bit for a Dale Jr. race. Maybe instead hopping on a Cup car might be a better incentive for them.
A lot of people in the chat had brought up Darlington.
They
Maybe
could
the
do a
Southern
fun throwback
500.
thing. They could do a fun throwback scheme maybe if they
I
want to do
mean,
the spring race.
well, and even if they do the Southern 500, because Dale Jr. is a big history buff. He's not going to be
Yeah, you could still do
broadcasting.
you could still do a throwback in that one too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you could just do like, if it is Hellman's, just do like one of the classic early days of junior motorsports games. That'd be a good enough throwback.
like I think I've been like this, and I think we've all kind of gotten to this point the whole way about JRM to Cup, where we're just it's kind of like the OEM talk we'll have later in the episode, and some of the other talk where it's just like I'll believe it when I see it. Like, show me something to make me believe, and it's like I think this actually did. The reactions, the hype for it. I mean, we'll talk about the ratings in a moment. The duels were very heavily watched. And I think that was partially due to Halio, but at the same time, I'll shout him out in a moment. He had a nightmare of Speed Week.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say last thing on Junior. He did say, granted, this is just after the checkered flag. He said that this weekend was about proving to himself that he actually wants to go Cup racing, not just doing it because people expect him to. And he said after this experience, he's like, no, I want to be here. This kind of confirmed that. So I think
I just don't know if he wants to be there full time or just like here and there.
it sounds like if the right business partner came along, he'd probably want to do it
Yeah.
full time.
So
That's
there's
the
a
vibe
lot
I got.
more on his
There's
show.
a lot more has to be there for him because the big thing is getting that charter, and we don't know what that's going to look like over the next few years either. But that's got to be the biggest thing here, and I also imagine you got to have the right driver who's going to be worth building that around. Because Justin Allgaier at this stage in his career, it didn't work out in Cup. I think he's better off in the Xfinity Series. I don't think it makes sense for him to be a full-time Cup driver anymore. So things have all got to make sense in a lot of aspects.
Well, so he said on his show about this, and then we can move on after this. He said on his show that he's even okay only owning 20 to 40% of the charter, having people come in like an ownership group, because like, let's just own it the way that an NFL team is owned or a basketball team or something like that. So if it's 40 mil and he's looking at like, let's just say a quarter. I mean, if he only has to put 10 million in it, I say only has to put 10 million in, but an investor group or an ownership group together, like if a Chris Stapleton wants to jump on with or whoever, that might actually work. And especially if the value of the charters does go down, depending on, if there's not as many buyers too. He might just wait out the market to have a dip. And then if you're only having to do a quarter or a third of a $25 million investment, like that might be what he's waiting for, because I feel like they're going to come back again at some point. I think that the biggest thing is they need to go somewhere that's not a super speedway, get a gauge of themselves.
I like the idea of Bristol, but I could also say Charlotte Coke 600.
Yeah, somewhere close.
Allgaier was 13th last year in Larson's car in that race.
Is there anything against them doing the All-Star Open?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, unless it's only chartered
I didn't know they
teams.
had to be a full-time entry to still show up for that or not.
You
but
might have to be a chartered team for that,
Which is
but I don't
stupid
know.
as hell to me. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know the rule.
the race doesn't matter at the end of the day until somebody that's actually worthwhile comes in and wants it. But kind of moving to the other highlight or low light, Elio's disastrous weekend where he got involved in a wreck in every single race he was in.
Multiple sometimes.
I saw a lot of like the IndyCar crowd being like, he's being disrespected by NASCAR fans. And it's like most of the NASCAR fans I saw, like I guarantee there were some that were being assholes about it, but most of them I saw were like, damn, he got collected in 4 accidents this week. That's horrible.
I think most people embraced him and were happy he was here. And yeah, with anyone with eyes could see that.
I was happy to see him here. I was just sad to see how the weekend went.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think
he literally
had
had
wrecks were his fault.
Basically the exact same wreck in every race, dual ARCA Cup, just a turn up to the wall basically every time.
Yeah, I don't think a single one of the wrecks, he was involved in at least 5 wrecks that I know of. I don't think a single one of them was like started by him, that it was like, oh, push gone wrong, or oh, he turned down and blocked somebody. Like, no, he was just wrong place, wrong time 5 times in a row. And he still walks out of here with a top 5 finish in the ARCA race. So like, the end of the day, I mean, it was great to have him here. It sounds like he's super speedwayed out though. And if he ever comes back, it'll be a road course, which I would love to see. I hope he does a road course race. I think that'd be great. I saw both Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden in the garage this weekend. Newgarden was there kind of with Logano, Pennzoil partnership. I don't know. I wouldn't read much into that.
Fox too.
Yeah, but Front Stretch got a quote from Dixon saying that he's talked to Jimmy Johnson about potentially doing something in NASCAR one day. So you never know. Next OEP in the next couple of years could be a Scott Dixon. You never know.
I'd love that. I'd love to see either of them race at some point, especially like Newgarden maybe does a race like if he did like the Roval or something, be after the IndyCar season's over, because that ends like right the first week of September now, and no obligations, anything like that. Like Penske, they'd be able to have a one part-time team, right? And if not, they could probably have some Ford team have a satellite too. Like I'd like that. But yeah, I'd love to see Scott Dixon. And like I saw that, my ears perked up. I'm like, hell yeah, like I'm cool. Bring everybody in. I think that kind of like a lot of the drivers are saying, because I know Truex especially was pretty miffed about the OEP, is like, as long as we just don't give a bunch more like special treatment to people coming in that are newbies. And then like the part I can't wait for is next year when like 3 people apply for the OEP and NASCAR has to choose which one gets it.
Yeah, that'll be awkward. I don't know why they put the rule out that way.
Oh, youngest one.
Race. He's good to go.
Little TV talk before we get to the ratings. Fox Sports made, I think, one of the best decisions they've made in the last 15 years with NASCAR coverage.
Yes, I'm glad we're giving them credit for this, because we do tear down Fox quite a bit, deservedly so, I might add. But this is an objectively good thing we've been asking them to do, and they did it. So go on, yeah.
Okay, so 35 of the 53 minutes of commercials were side by side in 25, compared to last year, 11 of the 57. So we had 4 minutes less of commercials, which I'm sure we all noticed. And on top of that, all of the green flag commercials were side by side.
Yeah, that's huge.
Could it be executed better? Yes, but I'll take the improvement.
We still knew what was happening.
Yeah, it's not like I did see on Twitter, because I only, I was at the race. I saw some of the broadcast in the media center, but I was mostly not watching it. But I did see on Twitter a lot of people saying, oh, there's too many commercials. So maybe to make up for some of that, some of the lack of full screen, maybe they did inject a few too many side by sides. But the point is, if you can still see the race even in the small box, are you really missing anything if you can't hear Clint Boyer's commentary? I'm just being honest. Like, I mean, you can still see the race. That's what we've been asking for. And my theory all along is, if you keep showing the race, better chance the audience stays in their seats to actually watch the commercial too. Because if you just go full screen commercial, I'm out the room, going to pee, getting a drink. I'm missing the whole thing. But if I'm there still with the race I can watch, I'll see the Liberty Mutual ad. I'll just see it. It's right there. It's in my peripheral vision. It's in my side by side. So I'm thrilled Fox did this, and I hope it sounds like it's maybe going to be a super speedway thing primarily, kind of like how NBC did it last year. But I'm glad Fox is willing to try it. That's what we've been asking for.
They said it'd be all big Fox races. So
Okay, which
super
is
speedways and Coda.
okay. Yeah, nice.
Which I'm cool with. And then they did say there'll be less full screen commercials on FS1. I'm wondering if this was something, because you saw NBC experimenting with it. And at the end of last year, NBC, CW, all them like sort of got a jump start on the contract. I'm wondering if this was written in and it's going to be like a thing moving forward. Like at this point, to me, with the commercial side of things, at least, the ball's in your court, Prime, Turner, and NBC. And to a lot of people who I'm surprised there are a lot of Fox bootlickers out there who just like they can do no wrong. And you're just one of them, these youngins that doesn't understand. I've been watching the sport for 60 years and commercials have always been there. There you go. We changed it. Our complaining worked. Our bullying worked. At least on that regard. Now it wouldn't be us
Bullying
talking
is
about
only
Fox.
okay to big brands.
Yes, you punch up, not down. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a Fox segment on this show if we didn't talk about some of the other things, lower series, because I think CW had a pretty damn good opening, all things considered. Could be better.
Good commentary team.
Yeah, I don't know about the the local disputes with different regions, different networks. The streaming app not being live is ridiculous.
Yes.
There's some stuff to trash CW for that I would love to see
some
improve.
places didn't get it.
Yeah,
As
that's
far
what I mean.
as who is getting it, the product they're getting, that is good.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It was Kligerman, Alexander, and McMurray were excellent. We figured they would be. If that was their first race together, I'm excited to see what they look like 10, 15 races in because they sounded so natural and just
Adam
really.
Alexander doesn't try to push anything too much. I feel he is, he's got a different way of his calling compared to some of the other people, but that can be a good thing. And he also lets the others input where they have better experience, and those guys also are really well experienced. You have a Daytona 500 winning driver, a Brickyard 400 winning driver. You have Parker Kligerman. Yeah, he's not won a whole lot in his career, but he's done a lot in his career. He's been in the sport longer than you may realize.
He's fresh out of the seat.
So, yeah, and he is somebody who, yes, he'll be commentating, but he'll also be out there racing in a truck race still. He's getting right in there with the drivers we have today.
The moment that I was in the media center for and heard/saw that like won me over immediately was when Austin Hill first started there. You first started seeing like drops on his in-car camera, and they were quick to play radio that, hey, there's something maybe going wrong with Austin Hill's car. And then Kligerman and McMurray were able to kind of explain, oh, here's where that, where that oil might be coming from, blah, blah, blah. And then I forget, I think it might have been, I don't think it was Carla Gebhardt. I think it might've been the other pit road reporter did a great job. Also then like it was the way they communicated about the Austin Hill mechanical failure laps before he actually went to the garage was something that Fox would not have done. Like Fox would have not reported. Maybe they would have reported on a radio communication, but then they would not have mentioned it until Hill was pulling into the garage. Then they would have said, oh, Josh Sims, can you get on that? Why is he in the garage? And so that's where I want to give CW credit. They called that and explained it as it was happening, not after it had already happened.
Like it felt natural and it felt like a modern broadcast, which is like for, I think racing fans, it's really all at this point, like the bar's a bit low. Like if we can just get a broadcast that doesn't feel like it's from 2001, we'll take it. And to me, like the only problem I have with CW is you got to get it everywhere. If CW really wants to be a real competitor in the sports space against CBS, NBC, and Fox, you got to get on the same page. It can't be this, local affiliates crap that is keeping thousands of race fans from watching. That's my only gripe with them. If they can fix that, I'm all good.
Or at least let you stream on the app from wherever you are. Like, I don't understand why that's blacked out. That seems weird.
Going back to the on-screen product again, something that I love what CW did at the start of the race, you don't see the comic book superheroes. You see a graphic at the bottom, tastefully, of 8 different things showing you what paint scheme these drivers are in, so you know what car to look out for.
It looked like one of David Land's Indy 500 video edits. It
Yeah.
was very, very
Little
impressive.
bit, yeah. It was very nice, very tasteful. Kind of reminds me of what we used to see back in the not probably early 2000s, when they would show just a picture of a driver and a little 3D thing showing the car kind of zigzagging a little bit, or whatever, however they used to do it. But you would see what car to watch out for. I don't. Hopefully they can update that throughout the season. Like if a driver is in a different paint scheme, don't just show the paint scheme he ran at in Daytona. Show them in this week's paint scheme. I know it's going to take a little bit of extra work to communicate with teams and all, but it would be nice just to realize, oh, hey, Brandon Jones is in the Menards car, but it's got the Tide orange on the front this week, or something like that. It'd be nice to see that little, just subtle detail each week. Just continuing to show me what car are they in. Just things like that. It's the little things that they kind of overcomplicated on the other networks for the last few years.
Well, and the last thing, we'll kind of shift over to ratings and the poll and everything after this is that I like, and I'm very positive about for the future, is this wasn't CW Productions. This was NASCAR Productions. They're doing
Good
what
point.
IndyCar is doing with Fox, and from the sounds of it, it should be a pretty good broadcast on the IndyCar side. It means it's cheaper, which might mean down the line, if they get this, if this is the start and they can build on this, come next rating or TV negotiations, maybe instead of we have to just go for the money with the Fox side, like you can just say, hey Fox, you don't have to do any of the production work. Let your people show up, hopefully not remotely, and we'll do all the grunt work. You just got to stream it to your channel, and at that point, then you might not even have to charge as much money, or you might have it be cheaper for Fox to put it on the main network, for NBC to put it on the main network. You might not have to have as many cable races, depending on where streaming goes. We'll see with all that. Like, that's where my positive thinking is with it, is like 2032 is depending on what happens in 2025, 6 and 7 with these kind of broadcasts. This is the guinea pig. And if fans like it, then I'm happy with that too, because whatever gets it in front of more eyeballs without it sacrificing stuff for the sport, I'll take. Kind of sticking with the TV side, we'll go with the ratings, and it's a big ratings dump. We're going to start from Thursday and move our way, or we'll at least move our way up the series.
While you're doing that, my dog's been scratching at the door. I need to go see what he needs. I'll be right back.
Cosmo, what are you doing?
Well, while he does that, first off, we'll go Daytona 500 qualifying was up 12% from last year, 921K viewers on Wednesday night. Y'all remember that. You came and watched us right after that. The duels had 1.836 million viewers, up 12% as well year over year. Best viewership for the duels since 2018. Danny, since that night we started on this show, that's the best that the duels have done since then. We'll go at in order of the series here now. ARCA scored 1.16 million viewers on Big Fox, the most watched ARCA race since 2013.
I'm giving this an asterisk because it's on Big Fox. It should get 1 million viewers if it's on Big Fox.
I'm happy that there's at least that, which means it outpulled the truck race, which was down 4% year over year, the only race down all week, at 1.01 million viewers. A little more with the Xfinity series here, 1.8 million viewers on the CW, highest opening race since 2020, and most watched Xfinity race since 2022 at Talladega. So huge win, especially with all the problems they've had. I honestly think if they were able to get it to every area around the country, they could have hit the 2 million mark, which would have been amazing for the Xfinity series. And then the Daytona 500. Unfortunately, rain is just, it just won't go away. We got 6.761 million viewers, so up 13% from last year's Monday race. Race peaked at just under 8 million viewers at the green. And based on what Adam Stern tweeted, it looked like it was trending to be somewhere between 8.5 and 9 million viewers on average before the rain. So around 2022's number. Not terrible, not great. But overall, a pretty positive speed weeks when it comes to how many people came and just enjoyed the racing and was watching.
Not to get too much into this, but like it or not, the president being at the race, it's going to get a lot of eyes on it a little bit. So
That, and then you add in all the storylines too. The green flag always bringing a lot of people. Can we get a damn race in once? Like just
So-
like we've 2 of the last 6. That's it.
side note, we haven't really even talked about much. Eric, you were there this weekend. What was the vibe like in person? Did you see Air Force One fly in?
Yeah, I saw Air Force One fly in. Saw the president get out onto pit road and shake hands with Petty, Childress, Biffle, few of the drivers. I noticed drivers who weren't in Cup in 2020, Gregson, Briscoe, Zane Smith, were the ones to go up and say hi. Because if you didn't get a chance to see him in 2020, I guess it was like, all right, well, if you're interested, now's your chance.
If you were anywhere nearby, he'd be like, "Look at that man! He's as tall as my son, Baron. He's huge."
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely the tighter security was no joke. Although I say that I got in at 7:30 and obviously was able to go through the garage. I saw they had a lot of Secret Service, K9, there's a lot more security there, but I was able to get in pretty quick. I know for people outside the track, it took a couple hours in some cases to get through that line. So they weren't kidding when they said get there early. But the vibe all weekend was very positive and the weather was pretty good until 10 laps into the main race, which is typical. So it was good stuff.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Good time at Daytona. Beautiful facility. I love going to Daytona, even when the racing lets me down. I love going to the racetrack because it's just such a great atmosphere.
Well, I think it's poll time. What do you think? Poll?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. We got just under 14,000 votes this week. 41% of you said it was a great race. And 41% as well said good. So 82% net positive. Pretty low for the 500, but still pretty positive, all things considered. And I'm just realizing the numbers don't add up. Thanks, YouTube, for giving me 101%, I believe, because 14% said it was average and 5% said it was negative. As for the first comment, it comes from the birthday boy today, Spencer Purcell.
Happy birthday, Spencer.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And he says, if I had a nickel for every time Priest flipped a Daytona, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice.
It's unfortunate. Those are some unlucky nickels.
Yes.
Is it when you find a penny on the ground, which is it like if it's heads up, that means it's actually bad luck if you take it? Or which?
No, heads up's good luck. Tails is give it to a person for good luck.
Oh, shoot. I thought it was the other way around all this time. No wonder I've had such misfortune. Wait, I legit thought it was tails was good.
You gave Priest the tails penny, or you didn't give you. I don't know.
I'm just saying when I find pennies on the ground, if it has tails up, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm taking that. That's good luck. I didn't realize that was the opposite, and now I'm screwed. Now I need to watch myself.
Well, let's see some positive and gutter comments here. Let's start with the positive ones. John Jones also says Ryan Priest might as well get a Southwest Airlines sponsorship at this point since he always goes flying.
Southwest car would actually look really nice, honestly.
Yeah,
it would.
NASCAR Jack here says NASCAR saw all the hate from the way the duels ended or Duel 2 ended and said, here, damn.
Yeah, they went really far the other direction.
Ross Crash Stain says RFK didn't build a submarine. They built an ICBM. Big Bacon says the curse of the phantom debris has reappeared. Jeff in North Carolina says plate racing is a stupid form of racing. That was not positive, but not negative enough to be in the gutter. Horse Crazy Viking says one hell of a save from Herbst. Yes.
And don't forget Denny Hamlin's save in stage 1 was, I would say, equally impressive. Couple of really, they're both really good, both very impressive.
And then Snappy here says, I hate what the Daytona 500's become. It's about missing the wreck and luck, no skill involved.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be quite that heavy-handed, but yes, I agree with 85% of that statement.
Well, not the gutter time. Nostalgic, 2 Punk Craver, I think that's the name I wrote down, says the only downside is Denny didn't win. That's in the gutter.
And people downvoted it. Yep. Makes sense.
Well, I agree after my pick.
Danny downvoted it.
JQ's98 says first. I don't get the hate for people that put first. Like I usually put something like, fastest Xfinity internet or some NASCAR term in there
Have you
for it
wait?
because I think it's cool.
Have you ever been? Have either of y'all ever been first, like legitimately on like a fairly big YouTuber's video? Because I don't think I ever have. Not that I've ever trying to, but like it's never timed out.
I didn't type it, but I got into a Ryan Hall video this past weekend and it had 2 views and I was like, damn, never
Third,
gotten here this early.
3 for Dale.
Yeah, do it for Dale. And then H Greenlee 333 says most enjoyable Daytona 500 in years, and that was the most downvoted.
That was
comment.
downvoted. I mean, it was good up until the finish.
Hey,
Damn.
actually, just going back to that question, you asked if you ever been in so early.
Mhm.
I actually was the first person who voted on Jeff Gluck's poll this week. I just happened to see it. I clicked yes. I was like, oh, 100%. It's only me here.
Wow, that's
Hey!
cool.
Would you vote?
Yes.
So for a brief moment, you
Stop the count.
You got to see 100% poll. Well,
That's pretty cool.
that is the poll. We can probably roll through really quick the 2 lower series, Xfinity and trucks. We'll start with Xfinity. Jesse Love wins it in overtime. And I'm going to be honest, this was just an RCR masterclass.
It just brings such good cars to these tracks year in, year out. I keep expecting something to change, but nothing does. But I thought it was interesting that like Jesse Love would flirt with the top 5 and so here and there, but it wasn't until after his teammate went off the track that all of a sudden he's controlling this race. It's just weird. It's like all of Austin Hill's powers were drained from his car and were zapped into Jesse Love. So it's just weird. Like they dominated this race, yet I don't know that they really ever worked together. Like
No,
they were holding off other pairs of teammates, and it made no difference. That's how good those cars were. So I mean, congrats to Jesse Love. It's 2 wins now, both at super speedways.
As long as the car will make it the whole way, Austin Hill might agree to that. Then yes, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, and so I'll just pose the question: who's going to beat RCR, like head to head, not just like RCR gets going to crash or in trouble? Because for me, I think there's one clear answer, at least from how they performed at Daytona, and I think it's Haas. Haas was the only pair of teammates I think that held a candle.
Yep, and even they,
Junior Motorsports at least can be strong enough to contend.
They have enough cars as long as they don't screw it up.
The problem is they have like short track guys like Quapple and road course guys like Zilich, who like this is so out of their element. They're still figuring it out. It might take some time.
What happened to Colleague though? They used to be the team in super speedways though.
And then Justin Haley graduated, and Chastain graduated, and Allmendinger.
I mean, they still won with all guys. Sorry, they still won with Allmendinger and Chastain.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just one guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying they graduate. They're gone now. They're not. They're so. I liked what you said about Haas. Very correct. If Mayer does a better job pushing Creed on like the second to last restart, I think they might have had a shot at controlling the race, but instead Jesse Love pulled away. So they're still learning to work together because those are brand new teammates, new to Ford, but I think they'll develop nicely.
How much would it have hurt Sheldon Creed to finish second again instead of third, and also seeing his old ride number 2 win again?
Damn, that would have hurt.
Been like he finished, when he finished second to Austin Hill. It's just he'll get his at some point. You got to think. I mean, there's only so many times that you're on the wrong end of the luck bank that you finally can just cash in.
I wanted to be like Daniel Hemrick in his first win, gets him a championship somehow.
Oh God, you know how much that would blow up with the difference between now and then with the playoff conversation.
It is still wild that happened to Daniel Hemrick, and he has not won ever since then, has he?
Nope.
Greatest one-hit wonder in NASCAR history.
Like that trumps like Trevor Bayne winning the Daytona 500 when he did.
In a weird way, it kind of does, actually. Yeah.
Well, speaking of guys that won and then didn't win, Parker Kligerman in the truck race.
That was a great segue.
I'm working on it. It's a new year.
Played.
I mean,
Well played.
They still got to experience it. That you can't take that part away, at least.
I think I saw. Was it Weaver or somebody asked them if they would return the flag, and maybe doing the trophy, and they said no. He's like, nope.
I think it was the flag.
The flag. That makes more sense.
in for that.
Yeah, I feel bad for Kligerman, man. Ran a great race, but I think they found he was too low everywhere pretty much. So they're having their appeal heard tomorrow. A small team up against NASCAR, I give them less than 10% chance of winning the appeal, but hey, we've all been surprised before. We didn't expect Hendrick to get most of Louvergate overturned the way they did, but they did. So anything's possible, but it felt really bad for him because he even said on the front stretch that this might be the biggest win of his career. He's
I
like
know.
partially retired at this point. Like this, that's crushing, man. And it was even worse because Heim comes into the media center and it looked like they just woke him up from a nap. Like he was like happy, but like not happy. He's just kind of vibing.
His tweet after the race was good though. He just posted that single GIF and just said, "Give me that."
That's how he felt. He was just kind of like, okay, I'll take this, I guess.
The responses were so funny to that too. The responses are like, ripping on him and all this other stuff. It's like, you'd be the exact same damn way if you or your driver won. Like,
oh yeah, people can't hate on Corey Heim for winning this race. He didn't do anything
he didn't
dirty.
do
Just
anything.
right place, right time. Like,
but I believe, and forgive me if I butcher his name, Gio Ruggiero, I believe is how you say his name.
Ruggiero.
Ruggiero. He had like that was like a coming out party to the racing world of like, I'm here, I'm racing up front, and now I have a super speedway following up after such a great run. His inexperience was the only thing that stopped him from winning, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was him and he had Tanner Gray as sort of his drafting help. That was the weird thing, the way this truck race sort of lined up towards the end is you had pairs of teammates. They weren't tandem drafting, but there was like pairs. You had the two front row guys lined up for a bit until they eventually got separated. You had the two, you had the 17 and the 15 were lined up. Kligerman was kind of like, it was just kind of interesting how you had these duos. But yes, I thought Gio Ruggiero, where did he actually finish? He was top 5, I know. Very impressive.
I'll pop it on screen really quick.
Sure, if you have it. Just very impressive. Second, he was second. Oh yeah, because of the DQ, I guess. Yeah.
I just realized I didn't put the Xfinity one down there. I got like every series. We have every series on the bottom this year for people to see where everyone finished. I probably spelled something. Frankie Muniz top 10.
Oh yeah, we should mention that. Good for Frankie.
Yeah. And then waiting for him.
Truck and everything.
Waiting for him. There he is. Norm. Benning, the oldest driver in NASCAR history in the top 3 series to have a lead lap finish.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's 74.
Yep.
He's 74? I thought he was like 65.
And you know what? Honestly, like he had a truck that could have competed in the top 10 if he wasn't trying to just take care of it the first half of the race.
Why did I not know the man was in his mid 70s?
Oh,
holy hell.
Hey man, he's got him right where he wants him, as my Uncle Rick used to say. I love
good for him, man. That's crazy. Good for him.
So to kind of finish the Fox side of it and the truck side of it, I want you guys to finish a sentence for me, and you guys choose who goes first. FS1 and Jamie Little are blank.
Grading.
Uncomfortable.
It's just
not the future.
Oh yeah, no, we can't. This can't last forever and ever. It's like they're directing Jamie Little to talk slow.
Well,
like when you hear her on pit road, she talks like this, like a normal person. But when she's in the booth, it's
in her element on pit road. That's what I don't understand.
Here comes Ruggiero, and he goes wide. Like it's like, why is she talking in slow mo? Is someone in her ear? Is there like a weird feedback loop? Like what? She's great on pit road, like you said. It's just weird. It's
her
like
and
she's
Phil Parsons talk over worse than me and Eric are right now.
Well, and what my worry is like Mike Joy's not getting younger, guys. He's not getting younger, and there's like at Fox at the moment because they had options to change this year. They did.
They could have hired Adam Alexander. They let him walk
Eric
to the
Brennan.
CW.
Rick Allen is doing PA work.
Well, they could Eric Brennan. They could have had him who
maybe they will one day.
With ARCA. And so my thinking is this: like we only have one heir apparent right now to Mike Joy, and it's Jamie Little. Like, do you know how freaked out that makes me of like the idea of like I
thought it was going to be Adam Alexander. That's the thing is it still could be Adam Alexander.
Could be. I mean, they're still using Adam Alexander at the end of the Fox highlights to be like you're watching Fox or whatever. But I mean, like
this didn't even occur to me. We don't even have Michael Waltrip in the truck booth.
Yeah, I'm glad. like I didn't like he probably left once he heard Daniel Dye wasn't racing.
The truck booth this week was bad because I mean Logano and Harvick sounded fairly comfortable, but like they both just there was no chemistry there. Logano, the little bit I went back and listened to, was like afraid to speak up. There's a couple times where you heard him kind of go, oh, ooh, oh, and it's like, whoa, react. Oh, that guy almost wrecked. Go, whoa.
I almost feel like they tell the drivers too, like, don't talk over the lead announcer when something happens, but it's like the lead announcer wasn't talking.
I just think it's more their shy. I mean, Logano's obviously been in the booth many times, but he probably hasn't been with Jamie Little and Kevin Harvick many times. And that's, it's just shyness. It's, hey, look, and does Joey Logano watch every Truck Series race? I think it's safe to say he doesn't. I highly doubt he watches every truck race. This is the first race of the year. Shit, there are some drivers in the field I didn't know were driving. I thought it was Taylor Gray in the 15 until stage 2. And then I was like, oh, it's Tanner. My bad. Whoops.
Watching the ARCA race, especially, it pained me that Trevor Bayne was the best person in that booth.
Until Cletus got up there. He was pretty good. But it was more because he just sort of went off the cuff and was acting natural.
Mm-hmm. They just sound so stiff. That's why it's like they're telling them to speak slowly or something. It's weird.
Like, okay, I get Jamie Little has been in this for a long, long time. And I get, you should be rewarded a little bit the longer you stick it out and work on something. But I mean, not that I could definitely not do any better, but there are other people who probably can.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I think I put on or said on a stream, like, I just like, forget it at this point. Give me a shot. I can do better. And
there's a young Cuban man at Nashville Fairground Speedway that could step in.
He was there, suit and tie and all.
He was ready to go.
Dressed to the nines.
For people that don't know, our buddy, friend of the show, John Ramus, aka IDK player, he was like
Ramus.
500 likes on the Florida 500 that we did, and he'd wear a suit, and so he wore a suit and tie there, and like he said when he got there, the first thing somebody said was, "Oh, he's gonna be here Sunday. You're Secret Service, right?" Then he posted it on X and on Instagram, and I'm just like, this is great. Like, you gave me FOMO for a damn truck race.
Oh man, if I was him, just grab some like Ray-Ban sunglasses and just start standing in random places, like looking around.
Just get a random like squiggly thing like to put on.
So
your
dangle
ear.
from your ear, yeah.
But that was the extensive talk when it comes to Daytona 500 weekend. While we go into the first not lightning round, super chat stage break of the night, I'm going to put something new on the bottom of the screen because I don't want to read it every week, but I want to show who's doing really well. We'll put the fantasy standings on the bottom.
Hey, Blue Jimmy fan.
Yeah,
I think I did good at all.
Which I believe I put the wrong number for points, but you get the idea. I put the right number for minus.
Zilling it for Zillich. That's a name right there.
I like that.
And while we're having that fly, I'm going to read off the super chats for the super chat stage break. The first couple, I believe, were before the stream. So I'll pop it over here and I'll start right now. Barn Cat says for the 5, shout out to Pittsburgh's own Norm Benning for that 16th place finish in the truck race. Yes, shout out.
Huge shout out.
Garabuki says for the 5, all that for a William Byron win. At least the racing was pretty good, though. Can't wait for Atlanta.
I think Atlanta, we'll talk later, is going to be a really good race, super speedway style.
I have some stuff about the track I'd like to bring up too.
Okay, good.
Hunter good stuff. Hunter Nixon fishing for the 20. I enjoy a lot of parts of this race.
Position there.
It says, I enjoy a lot of parts of this race. The cars are the biggest issue. Slowing them down and choking them down with horsepower and drag and gridlocking them is the biggest problem with the super speedway package. I mean, I definitely think there need to be aero changes by next year. For sure. If they keep it as is, that's insane to me. Justin Drake here with the 50. Damn. Thank you. Says, someone please help Someone please help me understand the Briscoe penalty. Was it a huge spoiler change or barely help? Joey willingly ran a webbed glove with similar results, yet got a slap on the wrist. Yet this nukes Briscoe's season due to a JGR decision to the car. So we'll talk about that in a bit, and we'll get to the appeal and everything.
Long story short, is modifying a single source part on the car is such a performance concern that has to be taken seriously. It sounds like the bolts they use to fasten the spoiler to the deck lid are where the concern is. They're appealing the penalty, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll talk about it more later.
Lawson with the 10 says, as a lifelong Jimmy fan, seeing him finish third made me so happy. And Byron going back to back was the icing on the cake for me. Enjoy it. Again,
Happy for you.
all of our favorite drivers have retired, and we know how it feels, so enjoy it. Alex with the 10 here. Totally random. And look at the Q pup. Oh, he's a good boy.
Hey, that Corgi. Yeah, I forgot the Corgi's name.
Good doggy.
Totally random thing to say, but if someone named Hammond came into the booth and if he blows a call, I'm bringing back the Top Gear meme. Hammond, you idiot.
So we need Jeff Hammond up there. That's what I heard.
Put me out of my misery.
And then Byron's paint scheme reminds me of 2007 Optimus Prime. Have you seen the memes on Instagram where it's like he says something out of pocket and then goes, I'm gonna turn into a truck now. Pack it in. Watch me begin. Bryce here says, too many cars were saving at the pump. Denny Hamlin's comments were interesting. Also, I'm sorry, but Ricky and Logano are so dumb it hurts my brain.
Woof, damn.
We'll get 3 more here. Another one from Lawson for the 10 saying, no one is talking about Bowman's 11 laps led almost as many laps as he did last year before he won at Chicago. Hey, Danny, shout out to Bowman.
He did have a solid race. He tried to make a move on the high line at the end. No one went with him. It was unfortunate.
I picked him to win, and didn't he finish 6th? I was okay with that.
He finished 6th of the wreck, but still.
Gridflow says, how do we go back to 2000 spread out Daytona? Let it age. Let it age another 10 years. You'll be right there.
Hopefully.
And then last one, my favorite name, I think, to say of all of them, West Virginia for the 2, says, I might be in the minority, but bring back tandems. I think you are, but I think somebody on this panel is a tandem sympathizer with you.
If you want to do a few more, you can, because we have a lot of super chats. I feel a little bad saving them all for the end.
Well, I mean, we also have a lot to go over too.
Two more, please.
Two more.
All right. Well, first one from Wizard King Nick says, easy fix. See Tony Stewart 2012 post Talladega. Figure 8.
Yeah, just run them in reverse.
And then GN NASCAR fan for the Vibe says 2007 was a unique finish for many years until the late 2010s. Now, every Daytona 500 has a crazy last lap crashes, and 2007 isn't as special to me anymore. I mean, I guess when you see something similar every time, I can understand. Yeah. But we will get to the second super chat stage break. We have a lot to go over, and surprisingly, a really short lightning round, as it is also, well, it has been finished, but had been snowing out. Now we're getting thunder snow at 19 degrees here in Tennessee.
We literally had severe thunderstorms the other day, and then we had 3 inches of snow this morning. It makes no sense.
First, there's the NWP channel. It is in the comments down below at NWP Clips. We'll have episode replays, full episodes if you miss it. And also most weeks, I completely forgot to do it this week. We'll promote whose channel it's on. So subscribe there. We might do some specials later in the year there. Jeff Gordon has now put it out there. He is ready and open for a Days of Thunder 2, as long as his friend Tom Cruise is willing to do it. He's basically put the ball in Tom Cruise's court. There's been rumors about it. He's talking now publicly about it. Gordon is.
I feel like Tom Cruise would basically in Days of Thunder, the original, he was basically like Jeff Gordon, and I feel like in this one, he would be just like Jeff Gordon and be a team owner figure now.
I'd like to. I kind of would like to see like an old Tom Cruise, and then like him get into a fight with somebody and be like, "You left a hole," or something like that. Like I can see Tom Cruise doing that.
Can we get the crazy Randy Quaid to also show up, and he's a crazy ex-car owner now?
As long as we don't see anything from his personal life. Fox did use side-by-side ads for and will be using side-by-side ads for big Fox races and more on FS1. We talked about that earlier. I saw on NASCAR Reddit, Mexico City already has a bunch of NASCAR promos like all over the city and is promoting it. And apparently the when it comes to ticket sales, they're really high already. So it sounds like that's going to be a hell of a
smash
blast.
hit.
Yes. And then tune in next week to Danny's channel for episode 300. Yes.
I cannot believe we have hit 300. Claudia, get the cookie cake.
This is podcasting. But yes, we will be live for episode 300. Very short this week, but that is a lightning round. That's like the only segment we'll have this week that is short because we're heading on into our headlines. It's just a back and forth. Let's get the penalty report. A lot of people have been asking about it, and I want to make sure that we get to it pretty quick here. So there was 2 tiers of penalties in this one. There is Cody Ware and Todd Gilliland losing 10 driver and owner points. And then there's Chase Briscoe, who loses 100 driver and owner points, 10 driver and owner playoff points, $100,000, his crew chief for 4 weeks, all pending appeal from JGR. Claims it was a supply issue.
It's like that Brad Keselowski penalty of death a few years ago.
Yeah, I looked it up, and there might be more than these 3, but I quickly, after one Google search, found 3 recent examples of drivers being hit with a similar 100-plus point penalty in the regular season and not making the playoffs. Keselowski in 22, McDowell in 22, and Briscoe, sadly, in 23. All 3 drivers missed the playoffs that year, but luckily for Briscoe, he has 25 races to win. I said before the season started, his number 1 goal this year is just win a race. More than likely that would come with a playoff spot, but the 19 car has not won 2 of the last 3 years. The goal this year should be to get that car back into victory lane, hopefully more than once. If they can do that, not only would that ease some of the pressure coming into this season, but that would also wipe away most of the pain of this 100-point penalty. But yes, they are appealing it. It is an issue with the spoiler. I think it's unfortunate that back-to-back Daytona 500 pole winners have now had their poles called into question. Logano with the glove last year, Briscoe now with the spoiler. Spoiler could be a big deal if this was found to be something done on purpose, but we'll have to wait and see how the appeal goes. I'm sure it'll be heard next week more than likely. Maybe they'll wait a couple weeks. I guess it's not that time sensitive, but yeah, if this stands, I looked at Briscoe as 100 points behind 10th place in points.
Yeah,
so he doesn't win
the cut line
80, but we know the cut line is going to move up. So he's at least 88 points out of the playoffs as things currently stand. Without a win, even though there's so much time, that's a tall task.
So, we kind of talked about this beforehand, before the show, and it's a big penalty. Like, don't get me wrong. And I want to look more in depth at like what this means for him based on the season, all the other stuff. But to me, these big penalties, especially with the way that the system is now where he can win and get in. Now, granted, losing the playoff points is probably the bigger deal in this. To me, I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay. We expect, this is what we expect him to do, is go out and win. And more than likely, if he didn't win this year, he was probably going to either be on the cut line or not make it. And probably if he made it, not make it far. This is the expectation. And in general, that's how it is. Like, when I think it was Legacy got like a big penalty. And at that point, we're all kind of like, yeah, okay. Like, they weren't going to make it anyway. It really isn't that big a deal. Like, I get it's a big deal for the team. But like, for me, I'm watching and, it's really not that the number is huge. The percentage of points compared to the points you can get in a race is huge. But to me, like, it was already kind of a must-win year, and now they can just go for broke. Like, I really don't see it as big a deal as it would have been, say, 2013 on back.
I agree. It is interesting though, because if they do make the play, say that this is a team that could have a great year. They could win 3 races and be like a legit round of 8, maybe even championship 4 threat. If everyone plays to their max ability, this is a championship contending team, I think. And this now, the 10 playoff points, that's going to sting in September, October. Let's assume they win Darlington in a few weeks, or they win Phoenix in a few weeks. Let's assume they win and get in. Minus 10 playoff points off the bat. It basically hurt Denny Hamlin once he got deep in the playoffs last year. Like that, this kind of it's
That-
gonna make it really hard for Briscoe to make a deep run, even if he qualifies.
That team, just off of the notes that they still have from Truex's time, they are good enough to do well on flat tracks like Phoenix, Richmond, New Hampshire, and Gateway are in the playoffs now, so that doesn't count anymore. But they're good enough. The car can still contend. Can the driver? That's the big question here.
I also theorize, not to jump in again here, but I've said it because this offseason, maybe on this show, I don't recall, but I think James Small is under a ton of pressure. The last couple of years with Truex have been shaky, to say the least. Yeah. Everyone remembers Cole Pern. Cole Pern just helped Truex qualify into the Daytona 500 on speed this week. So James Small has sort of lived in Pern's shadow all this time. New driver, fresh start. This is his year to break out of that shadow, create his own legacy, let's say. And so I think there's pressure there, and maybe that led to them pushing the issue on something they shouldn't have. Either way, man, this is a huge hole to be in to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think if he doesn't perform this year, one, he'll be in the hot seat probably 26, 27, depending on how long the contract goes, but Pern's gone. Or not Pern,
Small, yeah.
Small, sorry. Cole Pern was there this weekend, man.
Yep, they're both on the mind. No, I'm with you. Yeah. I think Cole Pern, James Small.
I know, I got you on this.
Yeah, James Small is I think he's good. He worked under Pern, has been with Gibbs for a while now. I think he's good, but is he great? You know, I mean, JGR's left Chris Gale around, and I don't feel like he's accomplished a whole lot in Cup either. But so maybe the bench isn't as deep as we think, but I think there is pressure on James Small, and this proves it.
So, kind of moving to the next story. This kind of went under the radar a little bit. Jenna Fryer reported it with the Associated Press that NASCAR is considering, kind of moving from one thing to another here. Big nukes, I guess. Kind of considering with the lawsuit stuff going on that if they lose, they might just go with the nuclear option and just say screw it and take the charter agreement away. I don't know if they can even do this. I think this is a bluff, but I just feel like they'd land right back in court all over again if they did this.
Yeah, because so I don't know. Obviously, the charter agreements are 100+ pages, and we don't have access to them. So I don't know what's in the charter agreement. Shoot, Jimmy Johnson didn't even know the OEP was in the charter agreement, and he supposedly read the whole thing. So there could be anything buried in the charter agreement that gives NASCAR this out. But yes, on its face, all these teams just signed a deal that is supposedly for 7 years with potentially even an additional 7-year option. Like, I don't see how you get rid of this until 2031. Like, I don't think next year they could just nix it without, again, ending up in court with 15 teams up their ass, like this. Mm-hmm. I do think this is a bluff, kind of like you said. I think this is their way of saying, hey, we heard Richard Childress on the Dale Jr. Download a couple weeks ago, basically saying, yeah, I'm pulling for a 2311 front row. I hope they get theirs. I think this was their way of saying, hey, we've been on our heels on the lawsuit recently. We've lost injunctions, lost appeals. But if any other team thinks they're going to hop in, they're going to see this as weakness and jump in and join 2311 in front row, think again. Because if y'all win, if you mess around and actually beat us, we're going to make sure we get the last lap. I think this is a bluff to ensure nobody else jumps on with 2311 in front row. That's my theory as a non-legal expert. It just seems too ridiculous to actually be true.
Well, and I think the charter system is so ingrained now in NASCAR that it's like this would kill teams. There would be teams that would go under, and instead of a 36 car field, you could be looking at 34 car field, a 32 or a 30 car field, or God forbid we're in like the 20s. Like, there's no way, as much as I would love NASCAR to go back how it was, where there could be teams that are living in the sport, basically 40 of them full-time every week. And then you have like 6 to 10 that show up. You have 60 showing up for Daytona and Indy and all that, but that's just not the world we live in. And the quicker, especially Jim France, from the sounds of it, like kind of gets that, I think the better off they'll be. Because I think it sounds like a lot of the newer ones in NASCAR want to play ball, and it's a lot of the older ones are like, no, this is the way it's been. And this would be probably the dumbest move, even if you hate the charter agreement. Just looking at the facts of this, like, this would be one of the dumbest moves that NASCAR could make.
I mean, like, even if some team, a lot of teams would stick around because, like, where else are they going to go? The teams that could afford it would, obviously. But this is how you permanently sever any good relationship with the teams. If you tell 2311, for example, hey, the 60, 70 million you spent on charters the last couple of years are now void. I
That's
mean,
how
like
you chase off Michael Jordan.
yeah, I mean, exactly. And there he probably wouldn't be the only one. Now, the only other, you called this the nuclear option. Maybe there's a non-nuclear option that just means we phase these out somehow, some way. Maybe somehow the math makes sense that they take the charter purse money or the money that would be paid to the chartered teams and they somehow divvy it up differently. Maybe there's a way that NASCAR softly kind of sort of buys out the charter a little. There's no way they could afford to buy out everyone's charter at 20, 30, 40 million a piece. They can't afford that. So I think there would still be hurt feelings, but maybe there is a gradual way in their mind to weed their way off the charter system. We can't see their books, so I don't know if that's fiscally possible, but like maybe there's a way we aren't thinking of. But at first glance, the way it's written, it sounds like a threat. It reads like a threat that I don't think has much weight. But that's just my take sitting here in my comfy chair 1,000 miles away from Charlotte and or Daytona Beach. So no clue.
It's going to be interesting. We said it in the first episode of the year that when we started talking a bit about it, this is going to be a story we're going to be following all year round until it's resolved. Kind of going to the teams and movements with teams and OEMs. We'll start with the teams first. The big one is Pitbull is out at Trackhouse, and I think the big question we're all asking, or at least a lot of people are, is what happened.
That one shocked me. I've been trying to do good about doing at least a video a week. I did a second one last week because that one just shocked me. I got on real quick and I didn't see that one coming, especially not that close to Daytona.
No.
Yeah, the timing was weird, but remember, guys, this was a rumor last summer. Like this was being discussed last summer when Trackhouse had an investment firm. I forget the name of them. I want to say it was Avenue Sports Fund. Bought I think the report at the time was a sizable minority stake in the team. I think that, combined with at the time Daniel Suarez's contract concerns, combined with sort of the fewer and farther in between public appearances from Pitbull, led people to think that maybe Pitbull had been bought out. We don't know if that happened last summer. Maybe they finalized the paperwork this last week and that's why they announced it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they are connected somehow. New ownership group coming in, Pitbull able to sell off his stake probably at a profit. The question for me now is going forward, does this mean Daniel Suarez's seat is even hotter than we realized? Because it sounded like he admitted on media day last week that early last season, Justin Marks wasn't sure if he wanted to re-sign Daniel Suarez. Like Suarez said, they both were not sure of each other. Eventually they had enough success, sponsorship, everything came together and they signed a 1-year deal. But that just means these next few months, they're going to ask those same questions. And I don't know. With Pitbull out of there, Suarez isn't in the seat because of Pitbull, but there was certainly a connection there. Having Pitbull out of the picture is probably going to make it a little less painful to move Suarez if Trackhouse wants to go that direction. I think there's a lot of pressure on Daniel the next 3 months.
And I think that regardless, Suarez's time there is a limit. Like whether it's this year or next.
You already have Red Bull who wants to get in with Connor Zilisch as well as SVG.
Connor Zilisch, for me, it's Connor Zilisch and how fast he develops. If he develops really quick this year and competes wins a championship, wins 6 races, and they're not all road course races either, like that's a no-brainer. Bring him up.
Ready.
Like I know, yeah. But if Connor Zilisch goes out there and he can only win road courses and he runs, I don't think he's going to do this, but he runs like 20th every week at intermediates. Or I'll say this: if he runs, the litmus test for whether Suarez stays is if Connor Zilisch can be as good or better than SVG was last year.
I think he needs to be better because SVG was technically a colleague car. I think Zilisch needs to, by the end of the year, he needs to be consistently top 10 on ovals, and I think he will because he was top 5 at Kansas last fall.
Awesome there.
Yeah, so I think he will figure it out pretty quick and be top 5, top 10 regularly. But I actually think, I think Zilich's development makes a difference. I actually think SVG's development is going to matter as well because, he was decent in Xfinity last year, but really only dominant at the road courses. I don't know that he had a top 5 on a traditional intermediate. He had a couple top 10s, I think, but
might have been like Atlanta or something. But
yeah, like the super speedways maybe. So I think as this year SVG at most of the intermediate ovals is going to run 28th, and if he doesn't get to where he's running 18th to 20th by the end of the year, there might be worries there. Did we rush him up? I do think SVG's development matters a little bit, but him having Red Bull and being so dominant at road courses gives him a longer leash. And it might be the same case for Zilich. Either way, Suarez right now, like if we're talking ceilings at Trackhouse, which drivers have the highest ceiling? I think we all would agree Suarez has the lowest ceiling of the four.
Yeah, and it's just
I think
unfortunate. This is finally a team that's let him stay. Like he went his first 4 years in Cup with 4 different teams. Is that what it was? Something like that.
So it was close to that. It was a lot. Yeah.
It's
Oh, he's fourth at Indy. Well, that's still kind of a drafting track, but yes,
it became a drafting track.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. They used the drafting package there in Michigan.
Yeah.
So you can't really count those either.
Not really. No.
But he's so good at road courses. Like
exactly.
Yeah. I think the days are numbered for Suarez no matter what. Even if Pitbull was there, I think Pitbull was just a figurehead. Honestly, he was a figurehead. Get him off the ground. It was
an investment. He brought money and exposure, and he's been able to sell his stake for probably a profit.
It was just weird doing it the day or two before he was performing at the Daytona 500, supposed to do a bunch of media stuff, and it's just like, he was here not just to race, but for the human race, as he said, and he did us well.
I am gonna miss Pitbull, dude. He's such a funny vibe. He's such a good vibe. I'm just saying, I'll miss him.
Well, someone we might not have to miss for long is Dodge, because Ram could be with Dodge back in NASCAR as early as next year. The report from Chris Knight and Catch Fence said that they put in a formal application for 2026 in trucks, and further kind of digging has shown that their aim is to come back to the Cup and Xfinity Series by 2028, which if they were to do 27, I think they would have to apply in September, which is a bit of a rush.
Yeah.
So they're pulling a Toyota, basically starting trucks and then move up.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see if that model still works 20 plus years later.
If you get out for that long, I think that's fair. You should have to, wait a second before you get into all of it.
And I feel like Ram is still such an iconic brand. I don't know as much about the business. I know they're both companies are now owned by Stellantis, I believe, which is a larger
Chrysler
automaker. Yeah. And I don't know how their business by and large is doing. I know overall the automotive industry is kind of in limbo right now, but Ram trucks still seem to sell. And the truck series, I know they still build most Ram trucks in Michigan, right? Like that's such an American vehicle, American sport. Like the brand, from a branding perspective, it makes a ton of sense to have Ram back in NASCAR.
Well, we talked about it on this show before. We've mentioned it's like, hey, has anyone else noticed there's a bunch of Ram commercials on NASCAR broadcasts the last 2 years, and now all of a sudden it's back? And I think this is amazing for the truck series, not only because we get Dodge back in the sport, but because as long as they publish it, I'm going to put it in the itinerary every week, the purse money, right? And like NASCAR Cup Series races are not usually 30 million like the Daytona 500, but the Cup Series this week is around 11. It's around 1.5 for Xfinity. It's under 800,000 for the total field purse this weekend for trucks, which is probably why there's only 33 trucks entered in the field this weekend. And that extra money in there, not even just for like the purse and the money that Dodge and Ram is going to add in to the truck series in general, but for the teams too, it's probably going to alleviate costs for the other 3 manufacturers when other teams jump over. And those then teams that are jumping over probably aren't all going to be tier 1 teams jumping over. So you're probably going to have more competitive teams in there. I know everyone immediately goes, Thor Sport, they jump OEM to OEM.
They did just win a championship though. But yeah. Oh, can I bring something up? So I was doing a lot of research for this because I don't know cars. I've driven the same mediocre Toyota Camry for 10 years almost now. Like it gets me from point A to point B. I'm not a car guy. I'm sorry. But I was doing research on Dodge and I found a recent article about Ram, I guess I should say, since they are separate technically. Did you guys know that for the Super Bowl this year, there were no Ford commercials, no Chevy commercials, no Toyota commercials, no Hyundai, no Kia, no Acura. The only OEM to release a Super Bowl commercial was Stellantis with Ram and I believe with Jeep, the Harrison Ford commercial that a lot of people saw. Yeah.
It was
And
great.
I read this whole article was with one of the Stellantis, or maybe it was Ram specifically, like CMOs, who was saying, hey, we decided to make that investment, even though our competitors weren't, because we wanted to show the American consumer that we are very much invested still in the American audience. So reading that article and then seeing this report that they want to get into the truck series, what's more American than the NASCAR truck series? It all makes sense. So if there's any doubt out there that this may not be happening, no, I think the truck thing is absolutely happening. The real question is, do they take it a step forward and bring the Charger or something into Cup in 4 years? That's the real question.
I find it an interesting strategy, like you just said about the commercials and stuff. These companies are finding unique ways actually to get their products seen in front of a lot of eyes. Stellantis and Ram, they were heavily featured in the Twisters movie that come out last year, which is appropriate because they Dodge Ram was huge in the first one. But if you go back and watch that, there's a lot of Dodge trucks that are seen in that, just like in the first one. I just watched Captain America last night. No spoilers by saying this, but GM had a few of their vehicles, a GMC truck and the new electric Hummer featured in that one. And you can kind of just tell, like, you didn't just use that for no reason. Like, they will find ways to get their product in front of a bunch of eyes.
Yeah, it's just interesting. The American branding is important to them, and that I think gives credibility to these reports that Dodge/Ram might be back in NASCAR sooner than later. It's exciting. It's very exciting. I don't want to get too far ahead of us now and be like, oh, what team could switch to Dodge? It's too far away to think about that. And ask us in a year or two, and we can start to talk about that. But
yeah,
it won't be Hendrick, it won't be Gibbs, and it won't be Penske. I think those three are safe.
You got to think of the tier 2 teams, and you got to think of last time this happened, and who was it that jumped over? They were a second tier team on par at Chevrolet with honestly RCR and DEI, and it was Joe Gibbs Racing, and people thought it was so stupid because of how bad Toyota was. And now the history has written itself. Almost 20 years later, Joe Gibbs Racing is arguably the best team in NASCAR, depending on the year. Penske ain't going to do it. They're so good with Ford right now.
Yeah, and Hendrick won't. So
there is, I don't know where the hell this came in. I know it's been a rumor for every now and then. There is no way with Jack Roush living on this earth, he is going to not have a Ford fielded if he can help it.
But 2028, not to be grim, 2028 is a long time away, and Keselowski has won a championship in a Dodge. So
yeah, but if Jack is kicking, he's
true.
Gonna be kicking somebody's ass to say that in his shop.
You're
There's
right.
still an R in RFK.
I can't deny that.
Now on the other end of the OEM side of it, there's some rumors swirling from Racer, who had said, not necessarily with NASCAR, this is more reckless speculation, if you will, that Honda is 9 toes out the door when it comes to IndyCar after their contract ends and their supplying ends. That basically they're just there as a formality and they're just waiting out the contract. Does this mean that Honda jumps over? Is Steve Phelps being vindicated this week by all the time where he said we're talking to 2 or 3 OEMs and we're like, maybe. Sure, Jan, sure. Like,
I've been telling y'all I'm talking, but
it's like, it's not BS.
He's the end is near guy on the side of the street, seeing the asteroid coming down finally.
Yeah, he's the guy he's Woody Harrelson in 2012, who's been saying it's coming. They all think he's crazy, and then here comes the giant super volcano that's erupting in all of our faces, and he's there to say, I told you so.
I guess we'll see. I hadn't seen the Honda report. I mean, I kind of hope in some ways that's not true, because I'd hate to see IndyCar lose 50% of their support roughly. I mean, that would be brutal. I don't know how you make up for that. I don't know their model well enough to know if they can make up for that. I'm sure they'd find a way, but gosh. But I would love to see Honda and NASCAR, no doubt. They're also a very popular, recognizable brand, more cars, more technical support.
Is Toyota in IndyCar? I mean, they seem like they'd be a good replacement.
I mean, they're not, but they could, I guess. But didn't Toyota just bow out of NHRA? So
maybe they're making
room. They're about to bow out of NHRA. Maybe.
Toyota don't really make much sense in NHRA to me. So
yeah, I kind of agree.
But That might be something really fun to watch, depending on what the reports are. I mean, we've
Yeah.
all kind of it's been a rumor since the 2000s, maybe even the 90s. Like, how did a NASCAR? And everyone's like it amps up and then it goes down. But it feels like the last few times it's amped way up and then went down a little bit and then amped even further up. And it's like I I would I'd be very interested because I have never in my time as a NASCAR fan, seen more than 4 OEMs in the sport. And I'd be very interested in the competition side, the money side, and does maybe new ones coming in push one of the existing ones out? And which one would that be?
And how could it change? You kind of touched on the competition. How could this change what's under the hood? Because these cars are all the cup cars are all identical now, really, except for the engines. And I don't know if y'all saw those reports a week or two ago that NASCAR is playing around with torque sensors.
Yep.
That's one more step towards being closer to IMSA, where you have, use NASCAR, for example. Maybe you have a V8 engine in the Ford competing with a V6 turbo in the Camry. I'm just throwing words out there. And if they're hitting the same horsepower and torque numbers, hey, that's balance of performance. They can race together and it's even, but it's different technology that might make for an interesting storyline. I think Dodge, I don't know. Honda, maybe, like, it'll be interesting. We're not going full electric in Cup anytime soon. I think that's been all but confirmed by the sanctioning body.
I think that'll be a struggle just to get any kind of series that's all electric, honestly.
Yeah, and but other types of power units, other technical advancements or adjustments, could we make those to help attract a fourth or fifth OEM? I thought it was interesting at Daytona this week. I forget what reporter asked it, but it might have been Adam Stern actually asked the three representatives from Ford, Chevy, and Toyota, do you think NASCAR needs to go hybrid? And I kind of expected them all to say, oh, well, I mean, we're always open to exploring new technologies, blah, blah, blah. Instead, they were like, if it doesn't make the racing better, nah, don't really need to. And I was
Well, you
like,
got to
oh,
think too, like because it did seem like I saw that too, that they're kind of lukewarm on it, and it's like,
they just seemed very indifferent. Like, oh yeah,
well,
whatever.
and
It's like they hadn't thought about it. It was kind of weird, the answer.
but if that's the case too, it's like, we kind of talked about it with the like an electric series, and it's like it just doesn't make sense with the infrastructure in America, especially because let's be honest, all but like 2 or 3 of these races are all going to be in America, and it's like if we can't have that infrastructure built up, like where really would be the urgency to do it? There seems to be like a cap almost just consumer wise with it, and it feels like this kind of follows it up. Plus, every 4 to 8 years in this country, it's going to swing back and forth. There's really no clear future yet for it until it's proven that it can beat combustion engines or even hybrid engines. So it's because I know
Yeah.
that you can kind of talk about it. You were there for the showcase this past
Yeah.
weekend with the electric car.
Yeah, it looked cool. I honestly, I was like, this looked kind of neat. I wouldn't mind an extra series if they want to do some exhibition races, but it's not. I think making this a big grand touring series is not feasible at this time. But no, to your point though, from what I understand, reading a lot about automotive industry, is it's for a while it was electric cars. That's the future. EVs, everyone's making them. Governments were starting to mandate that in the next 40 years we're only going to sell EVs. There's all sorts of regulation and push, push, push. And then customers stopped buying them as fast as the car makers wanted. And so then it was like, oh, people still want gas powered or hybrid or X technology. And so that's why now it's kind of all over the place. And so I think that's also why it's taken a lot longer for any manufacturer to commit to NASCAR, because I mean, they don't even know what they're building over the next 10 years. How can they plan to race in NASCAR if they don't even know what they're trying to market right
Well,
now?
and look at the NASCAR side of it too. I mean, looking at the NASCAR audience, it's generally, it's not going to be your F1 audience. You're going to have a hard time convincing a NASCAR fan who works in a coal mine to go full electric on everything. Like you're not going to do that, or
Sure, yeah.
you're not going to have somebody who's working in a factory up in Detroit, buy some really fancy big electric car right now. And if you're NASCAR and you're trying to push that in an audience that one might not have the funds to buy it, or two might not have the will to want to get into that side of it, it doesn't make that much sense now. Do I think that it's going to start probably making more sense in the future depending on which way the industry goes? We'll see, because it seems so fluid. 5 years ago, we all were like, yeah, it's probably going to be electric by 2030. Like it's, that's how fast the industry was moving at the time. And now we look at it and we're seeing the scale back, and it's like, why would we want to, the big thing was the Xfinity series. Let's make the Xfinity series the electric series. Why the hell would we do that? Like,
No,
why?
at this stage, there's no reason. I think that NASCAR electric vehicle they built was in production starting 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
And it got far enough along that all of a sudden they were like, oh, there's not really a need for this anymore. But like, we finished it. So let's use it for promotional material.
They're even looking into alternative fuels like hydrogen fuel. Like,
Toyota's big in some of that stuff.
To me, NASCAR, unless they prove otherwise, is actually being pretty smart and hedging their bets. We're going to look into everything. And then wherever they go, we're on it, which
We'll
to
be
me,
there.
that's a smart move.
I agree. I actually, people don't want to admit it, but I actually agree that NASCAR is kind of handling this, I think, at the right pace, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, they're not committing on anything yet. So I'm not freaking out about it. You know what this would be perfect for? Our prediction segment. Like,
oh boy. All right. Made the fun family friendly zone part of the show. Yeah.
It's time for happy fun time.
Happy fun. I forgot what we tried to call it last week.
happy, joy. So predictions here. Each host to make 2 NASCAR, motorsports, or show-related predictions. Could even be about EVs for all we know. Predictions are kept track of each week in our accountability session we'll go through in a minute, and we'll try and keep them relatively concise within a few years, but we can just have fun with it. Let's get on into it. I'll go first. I got one right. I said that there would be an IndyCar and or Indy 500 commercial during the Super Bowl. I think I made this prediction, though, before they even signed the next contract, though, because we were assuming it was Fox. So, like, before anyone gets on me about being old layup Jarrett. All right. I went on a limb on that one at the time. It just took like a year to happen. I also said Cletus McFarland would score a top 10 in the ARCA race. I underestimated ARCA brakes. I said by the checkered flag of the Daytona 500, there'd be a credible report of Days of Thunder 2 in some way.
Could we have counted the Jeff Gordon thing for that, really, though?
Maybe. I'd probably not. And I said there'd be a 20-plus car wreck in the 500, which there was not.
So that's crazy. The Days of Thunder 2 report almost came true, actually. That's pretty insane that you got that prediction that close.
Wow.
I almost want to give you the point, but because you got the layup at the beginning, I'm going to say no.
but still, just Jeff Gordon saying he's open to it, that's not really meaning anything.
Eric, you said Eric Almirola would drive for Joe Gibbs in 2025.
He's back
this weekend.
I made that prediction a while ago, to be fair.
You made that one, I think, around the same time as like the rumors of him and Bubba in that meeting.
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
And then you said Toyota would lead more laps than Ford and Chevrolet in the Daytona 500.
They fooled me, those jerks. They tricked me.
Danny, you said Austin Hill would lead the most laps in the Xfinity race. Correct.
He did.
Well played.
You said at least 3 of the 4 truck drivers for Spire, I didn't write that in, would finish top 10 at Daytona.
There was at least 3 or 4 truck drivers in the top 10, Jared.
You said Pat McAfee would attend the 2025
I was sad that one didn't happen.
Tough break. This is his off season. He's recuperating.
He got back in of WWE. That's what ruined that.
He has to find another football YouTuber to slander after Brett Coleman. Yeah, that was funny. A little drama. So prediction standings. I'm now below 50% at 46.15. Eric at 38.
One of us.
At 38.46. And Danny's in the double digits.
You know what? It's better than 8%. I'll take it.
All time. I'm at 42.86, Eric at 32.5, and Danny at 28.8. So let's roll.
Who's going first? All right, go for it.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna probably snipe Danny later in the year on this. I'm gonna say Alex Bowman makes a round of 8.
Damn.
Okay.
I'll do this one first. He just announced 5 truck races he'll run this year. He won 2 last year. I think Kyle Busch wins 3 truck races this season.
This one seems promising, but also it could not happen. The lead will change 40 or more times on Sunday.
40.
Ooh. Maybe a green flag cycle.
48. Huh?
I've been saying too, maybe a green flag cycle adds to that as well.
Yeah, it changed 48 times last year. No guarantee it'll change 40 more times, but I'm going to say it'll change 40 more times.
Let's see. I can't make that one, so I'll cross that out. and go to a backup one. I'm going to go off on a limb here. I think that a Penske driver will not win the 2025 Cup Championship.
My second prediction, I'm going to do an Atlanta focused one on well, I guess technically the Cup race ended under green, but the Truck and Xfinity race ended under caution. The Cup race probably should have ended under caution. I predict this weekend in Atlanta, all 3 races will end under green. I think NASCAR swallows the whistle, and they're less likely to wreck at Atlanta than they are Daytona.
We have same cleaner finishes at Atlanta, I've noticed.
Yeah. So what you got, Danny?
Speaking of cleaner races, nobody will flip this weekend in Atlanta.
See, at first glance,
Can
it's like
can you tell I'm trying to improve my percentage?
Oh, fair enough.
At first glance, that's not a bad one, but it's like, or like that's like a layup, but it's like you never know at this point. Like, did anyone think that there was going to be a flip at Michigan last year? 2, depending on if you want to look the whole weekend.
No, there was 2 that weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like nobody saw that coming, I don't think. All right, that was fun. Now to get to our other fun segment, and that is Random Driver of the Week.
Of the weekly podcast. That's what our graphic kind of looks like.
Random Driver
chat.
Yeah, chat, got to look away from you guys. How do I get this off my screen? There it is. Okay.
Just hit the comment side.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Wait, we got to explain the rules. Jarrett has many clues. Danny and I have to have 3 guesses each to get the random driver correct. And we're not allowed to look at the chat or like Google or our phones. Let's see how we do.
We're looking for Jarrett's blue paws, and we're going to write them down in our notebook. We're going to sit down in our thinking chair and think.
So all time, Eric is leading Danny 16-15 in a very tight race. Guests have gotten 6 of them right. I have fooled everyone only 3 times. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Last 5 here. It's a back and forth. Eric has Buck Baker, Elton Sawyer, and Timothy Peters. Danny has Johnny Beauchamp and Joey Logano in the last 5. So it's
I pulled that Timothy Peters out of my butt. That was a lucky break.
All right, let's get it going. This random driver attempted 4 Cup races, but never qualified for one.
Okay, they're trash.
Danny, we are screwed.
This random driver has a car featured in the International Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Okay, they're not that trash.
Yeah, Danny, maybe we're not screwed.
This random driver made their NASCAR debut in 1996 at South Boston.
Oh, okay.
This random driver was initially part of the 1999 Winston Cup rookie class.
Oh, that feels like a huge hint that absolutely helps me 0. If I was smarter, it would be a huge hint. I know the 2000 rookie class.
I think we all do. This random driver is an Alabama native. Anyone getting there?
Does the chat have they gotten it yet?
I've seen a few.
Remind me again, you said they have a car featured where again? Tell me one more time.
In the International Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Okay.
This random driver has never been tweeted about by me, only once by Eric, and 4 times by Danny.
Home field advantage for Danny.
One of the tweets that Danny had tweeted about this random driver actually tagged an account that is currently banned on X.
What?
What kind of a fun fact is that?
I don't know. I just saw it happen. I'm writing that in.
I wonder what they got banned for.
Me too. This random driver drove for team owner Norm Benning at one point.
Is it? No, I'm not going to say it.
Go ahead. All right. You ready to start writing down? Because I got numbers for you.
Oh, shoot. Where's my pen?
They're both scrambling back and forth. I love it.
I'm ready.
Are you ready, Danny?
I've been ready.
All right. I want to be fair here. This random driver drove these numbers: 01, 07, 08, 1, 15, 21, 24, 42, 44, 47, 48, 49, 50,
You're kidding.
54, 58, 63, 74, 75,
What?
77,
No way.
78,
No.
84, 87, 89, 90, and 93. I knew it. I knew
Got
it was
any
gonna
more?
get
You want to
guys.
hop in there, Sporty?
Boy, wow.
I knew
Yeah,
I could
somehow-
rank one of you on that.
Somehow not 69. What a missed opportunity.
Damn.
Yeah, that's all right. Move on. Next clue.
This random driver is 67 years old currently. I love the chat. Jared, can you say those numbers again? No. That's why I like write them down. This random driver drove for these OEMs: Chevy, Ford, Dodge, and Pontiac, but not Toyota.
Okay.
Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Pontiac.
This random driver DNF'd in 50 of 66 truck starts.
DNF'd. Oh my gosh, there's a start in park.
Well, this explains why they had so many numbers. They kept getting fired.
This random driver has led 4 laps of NASCAR competition.
Are you freaking kidding me? 4 laps? You ran this many numbers?
Yeah,
You only did
as many
four?
as many as
four-
Bowman leads in half a season.
You didn't have to go there. I'm starting to think this person's in the. You said in the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. Were they like
It
in
had
like
to be something perhaps out of NASCAR.
I was trying to think if it was like maybe they're in like a horrible crash, like an iconic crash that's like their car's on display or their truck. I'm trying to think of like that
But
because
I
this doesn't
tweeted
sound
about-
like they're in the Hall of Fame for winning. You know
but
what I
I
mean?
tweeted about them 4 times. That's what I can't figure out.
Mm.
Well, this random driver did make 290 Xfinity Series starts.
Oh,
Okay, so they're an Xfinity lifer, basically.
okay.
Yes.
So we're getting somewhere.
This random driver at one point was sponsored by Big Daddy's Barbecue.
Hmm.
That's such
That's
a
actually a good hint.
notable sponsor that everyone knows about.
You said that's a big hint, Jarrett? I'm lost, dude. I don't know. Big Daddy's Barbecue.
By the way, there are 27 clues we have, so
Oh,
I
we're
feel like
getting-
might as well be sponsored by
we're-
Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage.
This random driver has also never won in NASCAR or ARCA.
Yeah, kind of saw that coming.
not even an Xfinity race, 290 starts. Jeez.
This random driver's best finish as an Xfinity team owner, though, was 7th in 2021.
Oh, wait a
They're
second.
67, and they were a team owner in 2021, and it was 7.
7th was the best finish as this person was a team owner, as a team owner.
That's in a race, right? Not the season.
In a race, yes.
It's in a single race. Okay.
Any
Is it
guesses?
Mike Harmon?
Correct.
Wow. Good job.
I want to make it known, by the way, for the last hint, if it pops up on screen, if it doesn't get bleached out.
It's bleached
Let me
out.
see. Let me see. There it is. Can you see what it says as the last one?
Applebee's.
Applebee's, yes. The
So-
Applebee's is. So Danny ties it up now.
What gave it away to me, the year 21, and I look back at the numbers 74 and 47. Those are the 2 most iconic Mike Harmon numbers I can think of.
That's a good
and,
point.
And I also saw 44, and it reminded me, I'm going to ask you the card that's in the International Sports Hall of Fame. Is it the 44 from Bristol that disintegrated?
Yes, it is. It's literally
Oh.
just the side of it.
So
That's
I
all
was
that's left.
I was dead on my Hall of Fame prediction. I didn't. Yeah. Oh man, I might have gotten there eventually. Then not into the Hall of Fame, but I
Well-
might have eventually found Mike Harmon.
Well, no, I realized, I'm like, wait a minute. 2020 was his best finish in Xfinity. I'm like, wait, I was at that race. Hell yeah. So that was fun. Random driver of the week. We'll do this every week, so be sure to check out Danny's channel next week for episode 300.
Random driver.
Now I got to go back and see what have I tweeted about Mike Harmon. Now I got to go back and see.
Do you want to know the band account?
I do.
Beeman Toyota.
Beeman Toyota?
That's the one that was tagged.
What the heck did my old car dealership do?
That's the only reason I put it in was to
Why
see
did I mention Mike Harmon and Beeman Toyota?
If I'm not mistaken, it was tweeted like right before Christmas, and you had said like you're saying how you're gonna spend time with family and friends and working at Beeman Toyota. Here's a pic, and it ended out with here's a picture of Mike Hartman for engagement. And I was like, this is too good not to mention.
That is funny.
That's funny.
All right, so that's random driver of the week. Why don't you? What do you guys think? We should head on over to Atlanta, hot Atlanta. That's not going to be so hot this weekend.
No, pretty chilly Atlanta, but
Yeah.
yes, let's do it.
All right. So first off, NASCAR in no way is changing any of the tire combos. It's going to be the same as previous years for the top 3 series, at least from reports, especially for Cup. So there is that. Starting at the truck race, the Freight 208. I love that name. 135 laps, 30, 30, 75 is the stages, starting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time on FS1 and Fox Sports' app, as well as, I believe, MRN and SiriusXM. Purse, $782,900. We talked about that earlier. It's going to be 53, mostly sunny, 4% chance of rain. Kyle Busch, your defending winner there. Not often we get to say that in this show anymore. I'm realizing my dumbass didn't change the Xfinity race name, unless United Rentals is sponsoring 2 weeks in a row.
They could be.
The Bennett Transportation and Logistics 250. So we're sticking with Austin Hill sponsors.
It's Austin Hill's other sponsor. Okay.
Yes. And that race is 163 laps, 45, 45, 73 at 5 p.m. Eastern time on the CW and PRN. The purse is $1,651,000. So, either way, I'd like it all. Saturday night is going to be 45 degrees at the time of the race, mostly clear, 2% chance of rain. Austin Hill is your defending winner. And then we go to the Am Better Health 400, the Cup race, 260 laps, 60, 100, 100 are the stages. It's 3 p.m. Eastern time on Big Fox and PRN, $11 million purse for the Cup guys. It's going to be 49, partly cloudy, 24% chance of rain with Daniel Suarez as your defending winner. And now for the first time all year, we can update the pick points after we go through and have all 3 series run, which means, Eric, you are the leader.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
28 points for Eric. I am 1 point behind.
Chat, what is going on, chat?
Yeah, Danny's 2 points back. Chat is 14 points back. Every single one of the chats
are
pick
under a
finished
blanket
last.
right now, guys.
We're under a blanket, and then the chat is outside on the porch.
Oh, they're sleeping on the couch tonight.
But
Basement boys.
all of their picks finished last in every race this past weekend. It was a historically bad weekend. I think like the best finishing chat pick was like 32nd.
I felt bad watching all mine wreck at the end, but at least they were there at the end. The chat was usually gone before the end.
They took all of the obvious picks, and the obvious picks blew up in their faces.
Yeah.
Which that happens, man. That happens. So let's head on down to Atlanta. I can't get this extra paper out of the way. We're gonna head on down to Atlanta. The chat, I believe, will now have the first pick when it comes to who is going to win, I believe, in the truck series. Yeah, let's get that going. Who is going to win the truck race this weekend at Atlanta?
They're early on saying Kyle Busch. You guys sure about that? He failed you at Daytona.
Are you sure about that?
Nah, they're saying Kyle Busch.
All right, they're going to pick that number 7 truck of Busch. Danny, who's your pick?
It is time again.
Really?
Hmm.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go with another Spire pick. I have to do it. McDowell's supremacy in the 07. Michael McDowell racing again. I'm going to go with him this time. I think he can avoid a lot of the troubles that others have had.
I'll take Ben Rhodes. Just feels like a safe pick. He'll probably be in the top 10 late. Hopefully something good happens.
All right, let's move it on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Who is going to win in the Xfinity race? Chat. Pick who I think you're going to pick if you dare.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They're picking Austin Hill.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fool me once. Fool me twice. The big bully.
The big bully.
And you know what? His number's 2 for a reason. I'll say wins this race 2 years in a row and wins 2 races in a row. Jesse Love.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to get Love 2 years in a row. So I'm going to go, I believe he's racing this weekend, right? Eric Almirola in the 19.
That was my number 3 pick if I needed one.
Damn it. Okay, so full disclosure, I thought I was second in points, so I only prepared 3 picks per series, and those were my 3 picks: Hill, Love, Almirola. So I got a BS.
I thought I was second in points earlier. I looked at it. I thought I was second earlier.
Screw it. I picked him last week. It almost worked out. Sheldon Creed. We're going to go back-to-back Sheldon Creed picks for your points leader here. I like it. I'm feeling good.
All right. So who's going to suck in the Cup race?
Chat, have a pick. Pick, chat.
My phone keeps blowing up from all the Adam Stern tweets and stuff. And it's like all these new commercials, by the way, while they're doing their pick. Apparently, Brad Keselowski with Consumer Cell is doing 2 new commercials that are actually filmed like The Office. And he's supposed to be like Michael Scott.
Oh, I need to see that.
Yeah, we'll watch him after. I don't know.
He was kind of good in that little like NASCAR TV schedule skit that they put together. Like he actually was a decent little performer.
Yeah.
So who do you think they're picking, by the way, for the suck pick?
It looks like Larson.
Yeah, they're saying Larson.
All right, we'll give him Larson.
I mean, saying Larson at a super speedway did bad, that's not a bad idea.
Jeff Gordon called him out this week in the media a little bit when they asked him. It's like it's in his head.
Like, you know, everyone was like, oh, we want Kyle Busch to win a Daytona 500. We want Kyle Larson to be contending in a Daytona 500.
Yep.
All right. Danny, who's your suck pick?
My suck pick, I'm not saying he's going to have quite like last week, but I'm going to say Ryan Preece to avoid something like that. So I'm just going to take it easy this week.
Take it easy. Take it easy. And I think Larson's going to suck too.
I'm going to go crazy here and say Michael McDowell. I think everyone expects him to be great because he was great last year, but it's a different team, different OEM. I don't know. I don't think it's as going to be as good.
All right. Who's dark horse this week, chat?
Dark horse.
Ford. Who is the Mustang this week?
I see 2 clear front runners.
I do too.
Eric Jones. I'm seeing him more.
It's him or Gilliland, I think, but maybe they are going Jonesy.
I think
I'm seeing a fair amount of Noah Gragson as well, but I'm going to say Eric Jones.
I think they're going 43 on this one.
Give him Jones because they probably won't pick him to win anyways, though.
Yeah.
Then you have like the other 2/3 of the chat. You're like, damn it, that's our guy.
For my underdog, considering the team won last year, I think this driver could also show up and be pretty good. SVG.
I kind of somewhat same vein. I mean, they were on the same team last year. I'm gonna go AJ Allmendinger. Not a bad track record at Atlanta in his starts here. So I think 16 can be pretty good.
This team did not show out quite as much as I hoped they would at Daytona, but I still have faith front row is fast, so I'll go Todd Gilliland.
All right, you got the Todd father, which means we are going to who is winning the Cup race at Atlanta. Is it that guy who just likes short track racing?
Sorry.
Let's go.
Pretty good time. All right, chat. Who you got winning this thing?
I think
Looks
they're
like
going Blaney.
I saw a lot of 12s. Now there's some other numbers, but I don't know if it's enough to beat the 12.
Yeah, I would give him Blaney.
All right, let's give him Blaney.
Okay, that was my number 2. So I'll go with my number 1. Y'all can keep him on Saturday. I'll take him Sunday. Kyle Busch, go back to victory lane.
Oh, hey-o.
Now the moment of truth. Do I make sure I get all 3 of the 3 wide finish side by side once again in the order that they were side by side?
Oh, yeah.
And the answer is no, because I'm going to pick Austin Cindric to win.
You know what? I guess there could be worse people to be stuck with my third pick, but I will take Daniel Suarez. Someone in the chat mentioned a moment ago, in the 5 Atlanta races he's finished, there's one he crashed out of. He has an average finish of third. Third.
I have to check something really quick. Did we just pick the entire top 4 from last year?
Did
Yes.
Cindric finish 4th?
That's
pretty
my
sure.
only question, because I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he did, but he might have been somebody else behind him.
I don't know. I like it. I think they're all good picks. I don't know.
Someone check on that for me.
I'm
They'll
checking.
let me know
I'm
in
checking.
the chat. Or did Bubba get 4th?
I don't know where Cindric finished last year, but I know
Okay,
the
March.
other guys were top 3.
Oh wait, no. Oh wait, that's 20. Show me 2024. Okay. Austin Cindric did finish 4th.
Oh my God,
goodness.
we went so chalk. I love
Bubba
it.
finished 5th.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. All right, well, there are the picks for this weekend.
And I don't think our reasoning for pick them is just because of last year either. I think we
No.
could just easily see these 4 drivers contending at this track.
Yeah. But we'll post our picks. I'll post them on X this week before the truck race. I'll probably have to put the truck ones in the morning and then put the Xfinity ones probably during the truck race. But they'll be up. So be sure to take a look out for that. Let's finish off with our final Super Chat stage break. I'll pick back up here with Bobby Blair, who said the Daytona 500 feels so watered down nowadays. It just does not have that big time feeling like the Indy 500 or Le Mans. It just feels like another race, in my opinion. I feel like, too, if it just keeps getting rained out, it's not helping its case at all. And that's, NASCAR can't help that. But, I mean, I've seen that narrative going around, and it's hard to argue against it in some degree.
It's a bigger and better show in some ways than those other races. Indy, it's debatable. But the competition is not, because Indy, they're there for a month, but it makes sense that they're fine-tuning their cars because they have to win that race. Daytona, you could show up with a 20th place car and finish 3rd. It happens every year.
Even if they moved up start time, it helped. I think even if they started this race at noon Eastern time, we would have still ran into that rain that ended up coming. Just, that's just unfortunate timing.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to get there at like 4 based on.
Yeah, it actually got there. It got in and out earlier than anticipated.
Yeah, came a lot faster.
Groovy Goose here says, I'll have to rebuke Eric's point. The storylines ending the way you mentioned isn't an issue with the car. It's the drivers. I don't like the wreck fest at the end of 500s nowadays, but it's not the car.
I think it's, I don't think, I never said it's all the car. I do think the car plays a role, but no, I mean, the drivers, Denny Hamlin put blame on Cole Custer for causing the big one, and we all blame Stenhouse and Logano for causing it. Like the drivers, made big dumb moves.
BGWX Chasing for the 5 says, did anyone else 60 to go hear Fox say no more commercials and then went to commercial 2 minutes later calling it Toyota All Out?
Yeah. I don't recall it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
They do that sometimes. They'll have sponsored commercial free breaks, which is kind of a weird oxymoron.
Yeah, it's a loophole in the contract. Mm-hmm. Evergreen Mountain for the 5 says, what kind of dinosaur would Ryan Preece be if he were a dinosaur? A Flipposaurus Rex. Thank you. I'll be here all week, folks.
Is that your burner account, Jarrett?
No. Do you think Thesaurus? Do you think Thesaurus Rex is his dog? Jam Plays Games for the 2 says, went Saturday, crowd/midday was the best I've seen in years. I noticed that with the Xfinity race too.
I was there Saturday. I walked through the midway, or not the mid. Yeah, I guess the midway partially. And yeah, I agree. It was busier than I remember. Last year, I remember it on Friday, Saturday, kind of being wet and rainy, but so maybe that was the difference. But it seemed really crowded.
Limu, Emu, and Doug for the 5. Currently eating Raising Cane's right next to the Speedway after going to my first Daytona 500 on Sunday. I've reached peak happiness. We got a chicken reference. Let's go.
I salute you. I went to that Raising Cane's Friday or Saturday.
Crash Travels USA for the 5 says Eric definitely cashed in some favors to make sure Jimmy Johnson finished ahead of Riley Herbst.
People keep saying Riley's the next Jimmy, and I'm tired of this meme. It's gone too far, but that's a funny observation.
And I think I speak for both Danny and I that because the meme is that way with you, we love it.
It's so goofy.
Plus, Danny is our meme guy. Well, if there's a meme, he has it.
Mhm.
Garabuki with the 10 says top 5 worst races from the poll. Oh, damn, you did your research. Thank you. From 2024, 5th Martinsville Spring, 32% positive. 4th Championship Race, 31% positive. 3rd Bristol Night Race, 30% positive. 2nd Coke 600 at 28%. And 1st was this Phoenix Spring Race, 27% positive.
How was the Spring Phoenix race lower rated than the Championship Phoenix race?
Maybe we have a large contingent of Joey Logano fans subscribed to my channel.
I guess so. All the others I get, I make total sense. I'm just surprised those aren't flipped.
Grant here with the 2 says JRM is going to buy into Trackhouse, calling it. That would be major.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not going to rule anything out at this point.
Fred Dog here with the 2 says, was this MTJ's final ever start? If not, where? Well, they haven't specified, but he is going to run more races at some point this year. And Joe Gibbs has said that the Toyota tree has it wide open for him.
Yeah,
so
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up for like other crown jewels, like a Coke 600. Honestly, I could see him doing that.
Jupiter Rain for the 2 says this will be the last time JJ is top 10 in points. That's probably true.
Probably true. That's a shame. Good run.
Steve-O for the 5 says, would JJ be competitive if we ran a Gen 4, Gen 5 car against current drivers? I think he would dominate any race. I don't think he'd dominate, but I think he'd be decent. It fits more into his wheelhouse still. I just, age, you're never beating Father Time.
Yeah, the age is caught up with them.
What current driver you think would be surprisingly good if they ran a Gen 4 all of a sudden?
Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric, based on the Xfinity with the Gen 5, kind of Gen 4, like I think he can actually wheel a car, and this car does not fit his wheelhouse, in my opinion. I also think Joey Logano.
Well,
we saw Logano. Yeah.
he did that in the young Logano series at least, but I Kyle Busch, yeah. Or Denny Hamlin.
I was trying to think of like
I could see Ryan Blaney doing good in one of those.
Yeah, Blaney's not a bad pick. I actually think that makes a lot of sense.
Kyle Larson easily.
Oh yeah, Larson. I immediately was thinking of like dirt guys.
If it has wheels, he could drive. He could race a train and do good.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine Larson and Bell in Gen 4 cars side by side racing on the 30-year-old Atlanta surface? It would be. They'd either wreck or have the all-time closest finish, or be no in between.
Someone get that, make that happen. Ray Abraham's collected old cars, have him put it together.
Can we have a NASCAR exhibition race once a year where we just get? This should be what the All-Star race is. Get these guys and just race a Gen 4 for one race a year.
Oh, it'd be so clean.
Like a 50-lap race, even just something quick.
D Moran here for the 2-month member chat says, I think Dodge could be interested in JRM. No. I don't think Dale Jr. be interested.
He's not interested in that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
Thank you to my grandma for a super sticker for 10.
Nice.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Grandma.
Super.
I can't wait to see you in 3 weeks. I think it's less now. It's a Thursday, though. So Gavin for the 10 here says, going from being excited for Daytona as a Dale Jr. fan to dreading it as a Larson fan has got to be a tough adjustment to make. Or has been a tough adjustment.
That's whiplash right there.
That's rough, buddy.
Nice one. Ross Crash Stain for the 2 says, Pitbull left. What if JRM merges with Trackhouse?
I just feel like Justin Marks kind of has his own good thing going. And we mentioned the outside investment fund.
Him and Dale Jr. have partnered up with like Cars Tour. Maybe.
I just think
Yeah.
like Junior seems like he's like very slow and apprehensive to expansion, whereas like Justin Marks is like Trackhouse will be in every major motorsport series in the world in 10 years. And I'm like, I don't see that mixing well.
I more think Junior he's not willing to fork over all the money, but he wants to handle the branding, the marketing, the operations. And like Justin Marks is kind of already doing that with Trackhouse, and they clearly have a very defined vision for that team aesthetically and so on. So I just don't see them having a shared vision in that respect.
Trackhouse racing is like Rickware racing, but better because Rickware is also in like every motorsports, but Trackhouse is going to win.
West Virginia here for the 5 says dream scenario Earnhardt Darty Racing, or Earnhardt Hayek, with Ricky in the 81 in 2026 after Hayek closes this year. I might be insane, but it'd be fun. I don't think it'd happen, but it would be insanely fun.
I think, yeah, insanely fun. That's a good word.
Alex with the 20 here saying, seeing JJ get third was personal to me. He's been through it the last 7 years, yet he keeps going. Having lost a child during Christmas, it encourages me, a lifelong fan of his, to keep going as well. Total respect to him. Well, total respect to him and you as well. We're all sorry for your loss. And,
sorry to hear that, Alex. But I mean,
it shows the power of drivers and what they can do for people.
And I mean, to their point, obviously, Jimmy Johnson's family's gone through personal tragedy in the last 2 years. And it is, I can see that absolutely being incredibly inspiring to see that he's still able to go on, taking on a bigger role with the team. Like, he doesn't forget. I heard him mention, his family tragedy on Kelly Crandall's podcast this week. He hasn't forgotten about it, but he's continuing to push forward and strive to do big things. So that is very inspiring for sure. Sorry for your loss, Alex.
And I didn't even think of that side of it. Aiden with the 2 here says, I think Gregson is the next NASCAR superstar. It'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
Superstar yet, but
he has the personality. Sure, I compared him to Tim Richmond, for example, but like he's not established enough yet.
He was with the Rizzler.
He was.
God.
Side note: did you see the Rizzler at all this weekend?
I did not see him. No, but apparently he was there.
NASCARson with the 10 says, Daytona, glad I didn't watch the duels, truck race, or Xfinity due to too much controversy. Only watched 20 laps of the Daytona 500 since Truex was out and Busch and Blaney crashed. Radio all the way. TV sucks.
Wow. Throwback here for NASCARson.
Calypso says, hello, NWP. Did you miss me? Oh, by the way, after Santa put me on the naughty list, he got sent to the locker by my beloved. In other news, Jarrett, until Jarrett finishes the novel, Davy Jones is your Santa Claus now. Can you send some calamari? I like calamari.
Some seafood, Jones, something fresh.
Give me some fishing gear. I need some fishing gear.
TJ with the 5 here says, here for my comment that I raced with Gio in Legends cars. We were low-key rivals, but I'm proud of him. Yeah, that's right. You mentioned that the other night. That's awesome, man.
Good sportsmanship.
Cool. Derek here with the 2 says Chris Wright is a weapon out on the track. Yeah, we didn't touch too much on that.
We glossed over that. Whoopsies.
That was very rough, buddy. Very rough.
He admitted that it was kind of a mistake. They had a little bit of a mechanical thing, but he just misjudged it.
We didn't talk about it because we had a miscommunication in writing notes before the show.
Yeah, apparently it was the spotter first, but then I take ownership. It wasn't the spotter, I guess. He gave 3 different stories before he stuck on one, and I was just like, it's got to be embarrassing.
He's feeling out.
I will say there was one person on Twitter who posted a video where you kind of see him suddenly just get moved from the track, and I don't know what was actually happening back there. I wish we had more angles than just that one.
That leans into this next comment.
Bobby Blair says, I watch trucks on mute. It's depressing to listen to.
God, that made me giggle.
Rowdy A. Diecast, what's up?
Blaring Creed while a truck race is going on.
Says Eric, it was a pleasure meeting you last weekend. Thanks for the hospitality during the Sour Power Hour.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. It was fun to see folks and do another live show and chat with everyone afterwards. It's good to meet you, Rowdy. It was always good to put kind of a name to the face that we see here in the chat all the time.
Steve-O with the 2 says, put Cletus, an IDK player, in the booth. Sure.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Hell yeah.
Thomas with the 5 says, as Ricky Bobby says, if you ain't first, you're last. I guess that's why I was in the gutter. Well, no hard feelings at all. Evelyn Rose Blue says for the 5, Priest needs to get a pilot's license if he's going to be flying on the track, or FAA might be or is going to be mad.
Oh,
I
man.
can't read.
Damn.
Fred Dog for the 5 says, add pitch for Xfinity. If you're tired of waiting in long lines at drive-through for your favorite fast food order, don't do the right thing. Do the Grubhub thing.
I found out. I actually found out this weekend. Slight tangent. It's short. I did find out this weekend how drivers are compensated for name dropping fast as Xfinity Mobile in interviews. I did find out a little bit about that. I don't feel comfortable sharing the specifics because that's probably not something people want, the drivers and teams want out there. But I did find out that there's like how that kind of works, and it just makes me hate that phrase so much.
Dominic here says for the 5, I use an ad block, but would still like to support the 3 of you. What are avenues I can use to pay y'all directly? Also, what do you guys do for jobs? I mean,
you don't have to pay us. We would do this every Wednesday night for free. But I mean, you just did with that super chat, so that was very kind of you. That was good. That's very generous.
Want to, that's probably the easiest way, but you don't have to.
But yeah,
and as far as what we do for jobs, like basically these 2 guys, their YouTube is their job. My YouTube is more of a secondary income, but my YouTube opened me up to a great full-time job where I basically do YouTube work for
we're all doing media and content effectively.
Yeah, I'm working on a YouTube channel that has like 2 million subscribers for it. So
yeah. Also, I love your profile pic. that made me smile when I saw it. West Virginia says, plus the news coming from IndyCar with Honda apparently having 9 out of 10 toes out the door. Maybe we get 5 manufacturers, but that's wishful thinking. We talked about that, but I see that you put that in around the same time, and I appreciate it. West Virginia, I love that name. Bryce for the 5 says, I ain't as good as I once was. I got a few years on me now, but there was a time back in my prime when I could really lay it down. Random song lyric.
What song is that?
As I once was.
Is this Guess the Song?
Keith.
Oh, okay.
I love that.
Should have known that.
That song was the theme song of my family road trip out to Montana in 2005. It was that song.
As good as I once was.
Yep. The music video is funny as hell too.
That it is actually.
Yeah. CM. Oh, and wait, 1 second. Is that another pup I see?
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pup wearing a Bengals jersey.
Is that Joe Burrow?
Joe Burr.
CM, sorry I took your thing off your super chat screen for a moment for the 2
van thing.
Said Fiat in the Truck Series.
Oh,
we'll see.
Are they also owned by the same company that owns Ram?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
yeah, but I feel like they'd want 1 for now. Justin with the 20 says, if Dodge does come back in 28 or 29 in the Cup Series, which is a big if, because I've gotten my hopes up on Dodge returning before, but if they do, Dodge is going to have to start making gas-powered muscle cars again. That's true. Yeah, all their muscle cars are electric now.
I think I looked up the Charger has a hybrid, or not a hybrid, a V6 version. I think there is a version of the Charger that is still gas powered.
As long as they got that, it makes as much sense as the Camry. The Camry has for years was just mainly a 4-cylinder. They had a V6 option. Yeah. Now they're all hybrids. Every single Camry is a hybrid now.
SK Bulls with the 5 says, favorite Avatar The Last Airbender character. It's been Prince Zuko or Fire Lord Zuko, depending on how far into the show, since day
Spoilers.
one.
No,
and actually, really quick, I think we're like either it's already happened or like a week away from it being the 20-year anniversary of Avatar starting in 2005.
Wow.
You like Zuko, but I actually like the uncle pretty good.
Oh, Iroh.
He might be my favorite character too, Uncle Iroh.
Voiced by Mako.
With his tea.
He's so wise, but also funny.
And so soothing.
We all love Uncle Iroh. I have a shirt, and the Gold's Gym. Instead, it says Iroh's Gym, and it has a ripped Iroh on the front of it. And I wear that to the gym or wherever I'm working out and stuff. Like I did a few weeks ago, I did like a 3-hour workout, and I just put that shirt on. And it's like way too big for me, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna fill this damn thing out. I'm gonna bench 300 and all that. And
But
I
you
hit
know
my
what?
1 rep max with bench wearing that shirt.
For what he is, a flying six-legged bison with a beaver tail Appa is pretty funny.
Appa's
Yep.
pretty legit.
Yeah, I was a day one Avatar fan, and like nobody I went to school with watched it. I got made fun of for having an Avatar watch, and I'm like, there's no way. This show is too good for people not to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't
I'm
really watch
actually
it until the pandemic. My sister and I binged, and you're gonna hate me for this. We watched Korra first. I'd seen a little
Ooh.
Avatar when I was a kid, so I was loosely familiar with the story, but we watched Korra first and then watched all the
See,
Avatar
I'm not a
in,
Korra guy.
succession. It was weird. Korra was good. I think
tried.
Avatar was better. Yeah.
I hold firm that I think Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's my favorite show of all time, but I think it's the best show of all time personally because of how good the storytelling was, and because unlike most other shows that you say is the best at all time in that list, uh, this one was one that could connect with adults and kids in different ways. And there's not many shows that can do that are actually good.
How
Like
did
people be
you
like SpongeBob, but that show sucked after season 3.
how did you feel about the movie adaptation?
There is no Last Airbender movie in Ba Sing Se.
Did you ever see the Netflix thing they did last year?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't my thing, but like it was much better than
It was truer to the original to the
Yeah.
show, but I could only get through like 3 episodes because I could not stand the child actors.
Wait,
Their poor kids were just so stiff. It was
when the
hard to sit
movie
through.
when the movie came out, ironically enough, it was coming out around the same time as the movie Avatar, so it threw me off when I realized that Avatar was not the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie that was coming out.
I
See,
have
when that
still not
came
seen
out,
the Shyamalan movie, so you'd
don't
be proud of me, Jarrett.
the only way that I will ever watch that movie again is like if I am playing a drinking game and need motivation to forget it again. I'm not watch. I watched it once and that's enough. I mean, they turn like I'm not really one that's a big stiffler on like actors if they're really good for the role, but for the love of God, this is a literal show that is like based off of Asian culture, and you made everyone white or Indian. And it's
Yeah, it
like
was a little weird.
it didn't make sense. Like, why? And M. Night Shyamalan's like, well, I like the fire. I'm gonna get on a 30-minute rant about this, so I'm gonna stop myself here.
We
'Cause
can
last thing I'll say, I have never watched a Shyamalan movie, new or repeat, since 2010 when that movie came out, and I'll never watch one again for what he did to my
That's
favorite
fair.
show.
That's fair.
I like Signs. I like The Sixth Sense. Won't watch him again just because I don't like him. I know I'm a old head or
He's
or a
polarizing
boomer or
as is. So
something.
you're not I don't that's fine. That's reasonable.
The closest outcome is when Nostalgia Critic does a review ripping on his movies, because then it's like, well, I enjoy that and I can see how dumb it is. Tyler for the 10 here says William Byron back to back. Let's go. Took the checkered flag under green this time, so all the haters, cough cough, Eric, cough cough, can shove it. Haha.
What?
I didn't realize he was a hater.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't hate. Are you talking about last? I didn't hate on William
I-
Byron's win.
Last I knew, he was more of a Bowman hater, but than a Byron hater.
Yeah, wait, I never question. Let me just want to get the record straight. I never questioned Byron's win. I know Tyler McGonigal is a big Byron fan, and I
He's
think
a huge Byron fan.
he's
He
over.
got
I think
on
in
my
the
ass
past,
a while ago.
yeah, he's gone on youth before. Has he gone
Yeah.
on me before? What have I said against Byron other than I hate his big hat Byron shtick? But
And yet you literally had 2 of those hats at your wedding.
we did. Yeah, we
You
did.
got me
That's
to wear.
true.
You got that like to be fun enough and passed around so much. I wore for like a minute a Texans hat, and then Riss grabbed the Cowboys one. I said, "There's limits, Riss. There's
What-
I'll have
limits."
to find a photos to show. But yeah, at the wedding, I had a jumbo
when-
Houston Texans and Dallas Cowboys hat, and we're
When I
passing
put
around
it
the dance
on-
floor.
When I put it on, I immediately like wanted to get it off because it was wet with sweat at that point, and I felt weird.
The guy on stage playing the trumpet got the Texans hat at one point. He was working really hard, but he was
I
rocking
think he
it.
was jamming.
Yeah, he
a
was.
little too hard.
Yep.
Tyler's left a couple here, by the way. Next one here says, "I'm so glad I had you sign that Byron card, Jared." So for reference, we met at North Wilkesboro. I believe it was Wilkesboro, if my memory serves me right. And he had me sign the Byron card because I had predicted that Byron would make the playoffs, and then he
He had
it's
6
either
wins
this year or the year before, one of them.
Yeah.
And then I was immediately proven wrong. I've owned it since then. When Logano inevitably proves me wrong, I'll own it because we have an accountability session. We own when we're wrong on this show. But he said he's been on such a ripper ever since. Rick's 300th win, 40th anniversary win, 10th Daytona 500 win, broke Gordon's record as the youngest 2-time Daytona 500 champ. I mean, he's going to have a legacy, man. And then real quick, to go back because now he's calling me out. Have you become a Byron believer now, Jarrett? And for once, when I do my super chats, it's not on Danny's channel.
Dang.
I'm just happy. Keep up the good work, y'all. May you all prosper and boo Harvick. Yes, I'm a Byron believer.
Live long and boo Harvick.
I'm gonna keep booing Harvick if he doesn't stop with these stupid force-fed remarks he keeps having to do.
Yeah, I do wish they'd stop that.
It's out of my reach, but I do have a Liberty Byron diecast right next to my desk.
I don't have any William Byron merch. I hate him. I hate him, Tyler.
He's just gonna go full heel.
I'm just kidding.
ZH with the 2 says, "Good news. We all have more points than Briscoe right now."
Yeah,
I'm considering a full-time run.
Shoot, I missed one more of Tyler's here. What are y'all's thoughts on the new Jurassic World movie? I think this one's right up my avenue.
Is there another one?
There's one coming out.
Oh wait, I saw a trailer for it.
It's not got Chris Pratt. It's kind of going away from that.
It's a reboot, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so I, as a Jurassic, I'm a big Jurassic fan, and I'm talking I know all the lore from a lot of the comics and stuff, and all of that, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't believe when all the actors I've been wanting to be in this since I was a little kid. Yeah, okay, every actor says that, but I like all of the stuff based on real dinosaurs because they're going a lot more scientifically accurate with the Spinosaurus and the Mosasaur and stuff like that. I know there's going to be there's 4 people on the Spotify side that just rip on me every time I talk dinosaurs. And it's okay, if you're 3 hours in at this point, you kind of made your own bet on this so we can talk.
Dinos.
I hate the idea of the stupid mutant thing. I know there's probably something behind it and all of that. It's not a hybrid this time. It's a mutated. They're calling it the D-Rex, but it's it looks like a xenomorph mixed with a rancor mixed with a T-Rex. It looks.
That sounds kind of hard.
I feel everything before they introduced that part in the trailer, I was all for. I like Scarlett Johansson as an actress. I think Mahershala Ali is in it as well. All the actors I really like. The writers in it, they brought David Koepp back who wrote the first one. I like all of the people in it.
Jared, have you ever ridden the dinosaur ride at Disney World?
Was it based on the 2000 movie?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you've ridden it? I love that ride. It's closing. It's closing next year.
I know. I saw that.
Very sad.
Damn it.
I'm glad you've ridden it though, because I'm I would love to ride that with you one of these days and see if you're into it.
I feel like I've never done it, but I've seen videos on it. I think it's Universal has a Jurassic Park ride that's kind of like a flume ride or whatever.
It's like a boat. Yeah, it's a boat ride with a drop.
Yeah. I rode it when it was Jurassic Park, and it hadn't broken down much just yet. But then the Jurassic World one I saw, it looked pretty bad, but
it might need an update. But it's still cool. I rode it last year. It's still pretty cool. It's a cool ride.
I'm another. I can go and be a nerd nonstop about dinosaurs, so I need to move on. Garabuki says, fun fact, Suarez's new Atlanta finishes minus a 29th for the DVP are 4th, 6th, 2nd, 1st, and 2nd, an average of 3.0. That is freaking insane.
Yeah, thank you again. I mentioned that stat earlier. Thank you, Garabuki. Helped inform my pick for tonight. Appreciate that.
And Andrew Winslow with a member chat here and a super chat to come saying the spotter of the 41 should be fired because, and he leaves the super chat, he is literally called the wrong car home. That is your year's biggest loser.
Unfortunate. It's an easy mistake to make, I guess. A lot of smoke, 2 red cars, but yeah, that was pretty funny that he kept spotting the wrong car for like almost half a lap.
All right, Snappy here. When will RFK start selling ad space on the belly pan of the 360? Seems like a missed opportunity.
Okay, they need to do that just in case he flips again.
Like-
I want to see a sponsor logo down there. That's
They need to
funny.
make Wonder Bread.
Oh,
It'd have to be
Oh.
Kings. Oh no, they lost Kings Hawaiian. Shoot, no, yeah,
Oh,
they get Wonder Bread.
no. Kroger Cottonelle toilet paper. Have that on the undercarriage. And then just literally like a roll of toilet paper, the Cottonelle logo, and then something says "You found us."
Peekaboo. That's
Damn,
funny.
Tyler really on it tonight. I appreciate it, man. Says, what's y'all's at-track plans this year? For me, there's nothing before July. I'm making sure I'm here for Riss and the baby to come. But after that, I'll see. I want to get to at least one. I want to keep my streak going. I've been to at least one race every year since 2006.
Good streak. Good streak.
We might be spontaneous and just buy some tickets and go to Atlanta on Sunday. I'm not sure. It's pretty cold, so we'll play that one by ear. We might try to go to Bristol and just get tickets and set up in the stands. We're just gonna kind of wing it and play it by ear really this year. Nothing really set in stone.
Yeah, and I'm the one who goes to a lot of races every year, and even my plans aren't very set in stone. I'll be at Coda and I'll be at Texas for sure. The rest of my spring is kind of up in the air. I know I'll be at Phoenix in November, but I haven't actually like booked that yet. I just know I'll be there.
Man, if you're gonna be at Chicago, I'm gonna be up for 4th of July is a Friday this year, and so
yeah, there's a chance I'll be at Chicago. There's a chance I'll do Chicago again. I don't think I'm not going to go to Mexico City. I thought about it. That sounds like just a little bit of a headache, but I'm excited to watch that one on TV. So yeah, TBD, let you know.
Calypso with a $2 super chat here says last Airbender movie or NASCAR romance. Now I'll read the entire NASCAR romance series before I watch that Drek again.
Oh gosh.
Fred Dog with the 2 says which Atlanta race has the closest finish? Well, it has to be the most recent.
No, he followed up and said, "I meant this weekend." I saw him.
Oh, he said, okay, yeah, my bad. Okay.
I'm gonna say the Xfinity series this time.
Me and Danny are on the same page on this one.
Bold of y'all to think someone gets side by side with Austin Hill. No, it's going to be Cup if it happens to anyone. These cars are so equal. That's why they keep having these photo finishes.
Bryce here with the 2 says Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. So I've only watched the first episode of Better Call Saul, and I was a busy teenager and didn't like it. So I need to watch that one. So I'll say Breaking Bad just because I binged that in 2014, because I waited till it was done till I could binge it. My 2014 summer was spent watching Breaking Bad and going to Virginia watching Breaking Bad in the car the whole time.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it was. I watched Breaking Bad while I was in college in my dorm. So I've seen that one. I didn't really get into Better Call Saul. I've seen some YouTube shorts every now and again of it. Looks okay. Isn't there like a separate movie about Jesse, that like El Camino or something like that?
I have seen that. I liked it. It's definitely slow, but I'm also somebody that like I like slow moving paces as long as there's real development through it. So I
might have
like
to try to find that one and watch it sometime. I've never seen that.
I think it's on Netflix. I watched it when Riss and I got snowed into her house she used to live in at her dad's back in like 5 years ago or so. We got snowed in, and she's like, "You want to watch El Camino? I know you watch Breaking Bad." I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." So
I've not seen Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, but in film school they made us watch one episode, the pilot of I think it was the Brazilian version of Breaking Bad. And okay, I have seen the pilot. I've seen the first episode of American Breaking Bad because it was remarkable how similar the Brazilian version was. Different actors, different setting, different most stuff, but like
they had different actors.
Beat for beat, it was very similar show.
I thought it was just going to be like still Bryan Cranston, but just the Portuguese
it was a
dub.
fully redone show, very much beat for beat, similar to Breaking Bad. I don't know how many seasons of this one they got.
Who is Brazilian? Like all these iconic actors that under who?
I wish I remember if it was for sure Brazil.
Skyler.
It was some, I think, Spanish speaking or I don't know, some Latin country, I believe.
Have y'all seen the edits of Breaking Bad, but it's made to look like animated like JoJo? And it's like, but it's like the whole time it's using lines in the show, but then they're all like beefed up and muscular and they're like eating nails and protein. It's the funniest damn thing. We're 3 hours in, so we're just off the rails at this point. You're right, Danny. There was no way I was going to avoid that.
Yeah.
Eric, have you watched any of the John Candy movies I gave you guys?
No, I haven't yet, but they're sitting on my nightstand. Actually, no, they're sitting right. I have them right just off screen here. We'll get to them eventually. I just plugged my PlayStation back in, so we have a DVD player.
The next big rain delay, you need to just pop one in.
Yeah.
Do.
Start with Uncle Buck. That's
okay. That's a good one. That's one I'll start with.
Blue Jimmy for the 5 here saying, seeing Jimmy finish P3 made me feel joy I haven't felt in ages. If he would have won, I for sure would have screamed louder than a sonic boom. I don't blame you, man.
We would have heard you in Tennessee, I'm sure.
Definitely. Bill's Wagon 17 for the 2 says the cameras are staying on. There it is. All right, go. Just more of them. You guys, they're doing the meme from last year where they just keep it going.
Yeah.
Justin with the 10 says, so update on the JGR appeal for Chase Briscoe. There it is.
I'm getting the reviews. Comic genius. Sorry.
True. They're stating that the pre-drilled holes for the bolts on the spoiler of Chase Briscoe's car caused wear on the supplied part. Saw this from Jeff Gluck. So there might be a chance they win this or at least get it reduced.
I mean, I think Keselowski's team back in 2022 made a similar argument, and I don't think it worked. I think NASCAR has been pretty clear. If there's a faulty part, tell us.
Yeah.
Don't try to like force something. But maybe I'm misinterpreting.
The Racing Rail Fanner 93 for the 20 says, I think I'm a good luck charm or a curse, depending on how you look at it. I was at the 500 for the first time. Was it last year for the first time when Byron won? Yeah, so last year. And I was there this year when he won again. Thinking of going again next year. Will he win again? If you
repeat,
let us know if you're going. Remind us of this, and then do it right before we do our Daytona 500 picks.
Yeah,
and also that's a very nice looking steam locomotive. And glad to see there's other racing and train fans out there. Check out Danby Trains.
Has anyone? I'm sure someone like Petty or someone way back in the day has. Has anyone won 3 Daytona 500s in a row?
I don't.
Chat, help us out.
So?
Jared's still got to read some super chats.
Yeah,
but chat, if you can go to Racing Reference, let us know.
They'd probably be able to let us know.
You can probably Google AI will probably tell you, although you can't always trust that.
Tyler here saying Penske to Dodge. They have history with them. Probably not with them being so high up with Ford and successful. I don't see them moving. And then Bryce currently with the last one saying, Eric, you need to watch Breaking Bad at least.
Sure, I probably should. Like I said, I've seen the pilot. I probably should see it again or the full thing. I've heard it's amazing.
That's right. So they're saying nope.
Nope. I actually found a list. Yep. There's several that have done 2, but nobody's done 3. That's pretty crazy.
Well, we hit the end here. I appreciate it a ton, everybody, for all the super chats, all the talk we had tonight. We will be back. We're just getting started this year, and we will be back next week for episode 300 on Danny B Talks channel, February 20th.
Funny.
Oh, yes, it's awesome. I love it. Maybe we'll probably go, 3.5 hours at that rate. And I think there's one more.
We have families.
Tyler with the 2 says my pick has a train 2, Danny.
That it does. That's number 70 Cinderella.
Is he just making that up? I couldn't even see who was in that photo.
Really quick, the audience online that's not online right now probably won't care, but I need to double check because maybe we can do an NWP raid. Tom Grassi, who again has the sin of being a Packer fan, but that's his only one. He is doing 1 million subscribers or $1 million for charity stream. He's going to stream until he gets to $1 million of charity. How about we go raid him as we finish off tonight? Thank you guys so much for jumping on, and we'll be back next week on Danny's channel, episode 300. Let's go. Woo! All right, later, y'all.
Drivers, start your
so nice to it.
See you at the line.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well.
Come on the line.
Hello. Come back on him.
That was incredible.